Next, Tian can't remember how much time he spent climbing the stone ladder of these two attributes. After the wooden stone ladder is the metal stone ladder. It's a kind of small gun with dazzling golden light, just like the gun in the spirit weapon, but it's more amazing and terrifying. It comes down from the sky and shoots at Tian as if it killed everything. Its terrifying degree seems to have a sense of oppression, but it's also an illusion. The steps behind the metallicity are soil properties. The earth dragons circled and danced, and they did not escape the attack of Tian. Both the golden spear and the earth dragon were defeated by Tian and finally dissipated in the vast clouds and golden light. This result not only brings Tian the feeling of metal and earth, but also makes Tian feel more tenacious and firm in his willpower. This is a mental improvement beyond metal perception. No matter what his accomplishments are, Tian only feels as if he has become an ancient awakening giant, glowing with arrogance. There is no fear and trembling in the world. This is the baptism and sublimation of the mind. Heart is stronger than gold. But that's it. The defeat of those earth dragons, in addition to the improvement of Tian's perception of the nature of the earth, also made Tian have a clear understanding of the details of the field. It seems that many details that I couldn't figure out before, but now I get through them all at once, and I suddenly get to know them well. The attainments of field have been raised to an unprecedented height. At this time, Tian stepped on the stone ladder, but there were large snowflakes flying. Snowflakes are not falling, but like swallows flying around on the fairy mountain. The edge of hexagonal snowflakes is like a sharp magic weapon, shining. Every snowflake is about the size of a foot. It seems that if you are not careful, you will cut people in half. In the face of more and more snowflakes, Tian did not flinch and smash them. Every time we collide, the snowflakes collapse into invisibility. Water and snow have the same origin, but their forms are different. This section of stone ladder is naturally an understanding of the nature of water. But this is not the only benefit. As the snowflakes continue to collapse, Tian feels that he has gained another huge benefit. That is, their ability to resist cold is rapidly increasing. In the past, the resistance to cold was mostly the use of mana, or the original spirit fire in the body. But now, after the hardening of snowflakes, and then in the face of the cold, even the extreme cold, Tian only by virtue of his own body, can resist the cold. Because he seems to have become the embodiment of ice cold. At this time, all over the sky are flying snowflakes, all over the sky are Tian's shadow and boxing shadow. Those swirling snowflakes are defeated by Tian's shadow one by one, and the snowflakes in the sky are gradually decreasing. When the last snowflake was beaten by Tian stepped up the stone ladder again. As like as two peas, sure Tizhong is not what is special. Standing in the position of Tian, looking up at the vast clouds, looking down is also busy. Both sides are glittering with gold, which seems to cover the whole world. Tian doesn't have any special feeling. He just thinks that there are still many stone ladders to climb, and maybe there will be more snowflakes. Or in addition to the perception of water property, Xianshan will bring more surprises to itself. However, when he stepped on this level of stone ladder which seemed to be extraordinary, he felt his whole body tight, and a huge force of terror wrapped his whole body. Then the suction seemed to turn into a whirlpool of high-speed rotation, spinning rapidly. Tian was dizzy for a moment. He quickly used his magic to protect his body. His body flashed. He wanted to go through the whirlpool and get rid of the shackles of the whirlpool. However, all his efforts were in vain. At this moment, he suddenly felt that his whole body was weightless. Lying trough. Tian exclaimed and realized that the stone ladder was a transmission array with extremely hidden layout. And now I am actually in the transmission. Too hasty. Tian vomited a trough in his heart and then stabilized his mind. The teleportation array was in the fairy mountain. It was impossible to prevent it. And where are you going to be transmitted? Will it reach heaven step by step and become immortal? This idea is just a flash away. The joke cannot be so open, if there is such a good thing, but also their turn? Now Tian's idea is extremely firm. Anyway, he wants to find out. Fortunately, the transmission array seems to have made a special arrangement, and the force of crushing in the transmission space is very limited. After a long time, the vortex finally stops, and Tian only feels that his feet are stable and he falls on the ground. Looking around, I found that I was on a high mountain, and the position at my foot was a broad platform on the top of the mountain. The mountain is extremely high, and the peak is covered with clouds and dense fog. The aura is extremely rich. It is also surrounded by mountains and mist, but this mountain is not the highest one. The mountains here are very steep, generally cut by axe and chopper, and many of them are higher than those here. Tian looked at the surrounding environment carefully, but he couldn't figure out what it was for a moment. Looking at the stone platform at his feet, there was no trace of transmission array. Tian frowned and released more than a dozen heartworms. One of them stayed nearby, and the others flew in all directions. He looked around again, remembering the features of the mountain, and then slowly left. He just flew not far away, but he saw a light coming from a distance. The speed was as fast as when he was the fastest. Tian's eyes narrowed slightly, and his face showed the color of meditation. The idea of God had a slight feeling on this person. He had already realized that the nun who was driving the light had the cultivation of golden elixir. There is no such monk on earth, unless he is a monk coming from the sky, and it doesn't match any place on the earth. It's very likely that this is not the earth anymore. Tian, a monk in Jindan realm, is not worried about anything. She just comes here to find out where it is. After checking the platform just now, he found that it was just a one-way transmission array. That is to say, it can be transmitted from Xianshan to here, but it can't go back to Xianshan from here. Find out where to get back to Earth. That friar, are you sent here from the Earth Star? The nun looked more than 30 years old, handsome, willow-thin waist, 3 or 4 feet away from Tian, stopped in the air, first looked at Tian with a suspicious face, and then asked. Yes. In this sentence, Tian determined that this is definitely not the Earth. He took a look at the nun, but was surprised to find that the dress she was wearing was not the Earth dress, to be exact, not the modern Earth dress. A short skirt, just cover the buttocks, but did not expose the thighs, because the bottom is also wearing a lot of pinched pants, not loose, not tight, neither cover the body, not fat. Tian didn't realize that the other side had any malice, so he nodded and said, Yes, I'm from the Earth Star. Excuse me, where is this place? The nun looked at Tian again, and then murmured to herself, Is there something wrong with Tianxianbo, and the friars of cultivation are also sent here? Despised? Tian has a feeling of being unable to laugh or cry. But he didn't say anything. He just looked at each other quietly and waited for the other to reply. He also heard that the nun seemed dissatisfied with her accomplishments. Do you have any problems coming here? Do you think I'd like to come? Hard abdominal Fei, Tian did not show. Well, I'll tell you, this is not the Earth Star. But don't worry, I won't hurt you. I'm also a descendant of Earth Star friars. There are many predecessors from Earth Star. As for where it is, it doesn't matter to you. Anyway, it's not the Earth Star, and you can't go back. It doesn't make any difference anywhere. Listen to the nun finish. Tian heart move, suddenly feel like this time can solve a lot of the mystery before. It is very likely that in the last great age, there were earth monks here, and they were still alive. But the nun said so much and didn't answer her question. Up to now, he still doesn't know where it is? Is this a spiritual realm of the universe? Tian guessed and asked. He directly denied the idea that it was Fengsuan Lingyu, because he had been in Fengsuan Lingyu for more than 200 years and knew too much about it, not to mention the terrain. He is very clear that there are absolutely no monks of the Earth's past in the square-inch spiritual realm. And here it is. Why, do you know the universe? The nun hears speech, very unexpectedly say. It's no secret, of course. If you don't tell me, where is this? I can ask others. Everyone here should know where it is, right? With that, Tian is ready to go. Well, it's no secret. If I don't tell you now, I'll tell you later. Since you know the universe, have you ever heard of the great wilderness? When the nun saw that Tian was more than 10 meters away, she stopped him and said. The spiritual realm of the great wilderness? Yi Tian stops, frowns, and shakes his head. He has never heard of this spiritual realm. Although he knows all the spiritual realms, he can't know all the names of them. There are countless stars in the boundless sea of stars. Out of the range of the earth, every planet is called the spiritual realm. Fengsuan spiritual realm is the closest spiritual realm to the earth, and it is also the smallest spiritual realm known to Yi Tian, so it is called Fengsuan spiritual realm. Moreover, the universe is just a general statement. I'm afraid no one can tell how many spiritual realms there are. Yi Tian is sure that it is the first time that he has heard of this great wilderness spiritual realm. No wonder, it's beyond my imagination to know the universe. To tell you the truth, it has been thousands of years since no one came to the great wilderness spiritual realm. You're the first in thousands of years. She repaired her hair at her temples, pointed to the mountain that Yi Tian had sent to her, and said, "It is said that thousands of years ago, when Tianling Bao came to the Earth Star, many people would come to this mountain to meet the monks of the Earth Star. That kind of scene is really magnificent. It's a pity that thousands of years ago, when a spiritual treasure came to Earth again, none of the monks came here. It has been like this for thousands of years since then." Later, no one paid any attention to the fact that Tianling Bao came to the Earth Star, because no one ever came back. This time, if I didn't have something to do, I'm afraid there would be no one to greet you. How about thanking me? Haha, thank you. However, what is that Chuan Tian Lingbao? Could you introduce it to me, master? Yi Tian asked. He knew that what Nun said was the Immortal Mountain, but he didn't know more about it. It doesn't matter what that is, it doesn't matter to you. As long as you know, you can pass the heavenly treasure to the great wilderness, but you can't pass it back. You should be in the wild spirit realm until you die, said the nun faintly. If Yi Naivete was a little boy who knew nothing about the universe, maybe he would really believe the nun's words. Maybe the nun's words are not wrong for her now. If you reach a certain level of cultivation, or the realm of God, or the realm of Jade, you can roam through the heavens, cross the river of stars, and reach from one spiritual realm to another. At that time, Shouyuan has a long history. It's just not a matter of time where you want to go. But now, this news is really bad news for Yi Tian. The earth is in danger and is facing extinction. Let alone staying in the wilderness spiritual realm for 10 or 8 years, that is, 3 or 2 years, the earth has no idea what it will become. However, with his current cultivation, he could not cross the heavens, and even more could not cross the whirlpool of terror between regions. Seeing that Yi Tian heard the news and didn't speak, the nun chuckled and said, "It's nothing. Although the Daihuang spiritual realm is very chaotic, it's probably more suitable for practitioners here than Zuxing. According to my predecessor's conjecture, for thousands of years, Zuxing has never been sent by any friars. It must be that there is a serious lack of aura, and there are no powerful friars. But it's not a problem here. There are relatively rich resources and aura here. As long as you are willing to work hard, you will be better than Zuxing." Yi Tian nodded and said, "Thank you for explaining so much. If I have the ability in the future, I will certainly thank you. I'll leave now. I'll go to another place to have a look. I'll be familiar with the great wilderness spiritual realm." Although he has a lot of wealth, Yi Tian doesn't really come up with anything at this time. He knows the truth of not showing his wealth. Understand where this is, the rest of the slowly groping to ask. Seeing that Yi Tian wanted to leave, the nun quickly put out her hand and said, "Wait, I haven't finished my words. As the descendant of the Earth Star Friar, I think I should tell you all the things you need to know, and I will never interfere in what to do when the time comes." Yi Tian blinked his eyes and said, "Thank you so much, master." Haha, you don't have to be so polite. Let's start with the transmission from Zuxing. Do you know the realm of the monks who were sent here before? There are Yupu realm, Huashan realm, Yuanying realm, and the lowest is Jindan realm. The Longmen realm like you has never been seen since Tianling Bao came to the Earth Star. The nun said with a smile. If you don't talk about other realms, just talk about the monks in the Golden Elixir realm. They just came here, but they need to be protected. Otherwise, let alone continue to practice, I'm afraid it's not easy to survive. Not to mention that the current situation is more chaotic than it has been for thousands of years, and you are nothing more than the cultivation of dragons. What a chaotic method, I'd like to hear it in detail. Tian was slightly surprised, and had a bad premonition. The nun pointed to the mountain platform. Let's talk in the past. It will cost mana in the air. I don't know when there will be a war. If we can save a little mana, we can save a little. Finish saying, also ignore Tian, the path falls straight to the platform. Tian then follows and waits for the following. He is not afraid of this girl's sneaking attack on him. If the other party has evil intentions, I'm afraid it doesn't take too much means to deal with a monk and longmen. Moreover, the nun was in the middle of Jindan realm. It was a very simple thing for Tian to kill the nuns in this realm. The nun fell to the peak platform, took out a futon, sat down with her knees crossed. No matter Tian was standing nearby, she continued, how big is the great wilderness spiritual realm? You may not even think of it. It should be tens of thousands of times as big as the ancestral star, almost boundless. Generally speaking, there are 4 forces in the spiritual realm of the great wilderness. One is the underworld, one is the demon, one is the orc, and the last one is the Terran. In the past tens of thousands of years, the 4 forces have had countless frictions in the great wilderness spiritual realm, and I don't know how many times even large-scale wars have taken place. The 4 races are not compatible with each other, and they have already accumulated deep blood feuds. However, among the 4 races, the strength of our people is the weakest. For many years, we have been struggling to survive in the cracks. So, I don't know when, in order to enhance the strength of the Terran, you have the power of the upper realm to send the Terran friars from some spiritual realms to enhance the strength of the Terran. Under such circumstances, the Terran can barely support it and will not destroy it. So it's a good idea for you to look around, but it's unrealistic. Once you go to the territory of the other 3 ethnic groups, you will be killed to the last. And now, the demons and the underworld have frequent changes. I'm afraid they have to fight against the Terrans. Therefore, you can only move within the scope of the Terran, so that there will not be too much danger. Tian stroked his forehead, and 10,000 grass mud horses were running in his heart. On Earth, we are faced with the crisis of the demon world and the underworld, but when we get to the wasteland, there are still the enemies of the underworld and the demons. And the nun said that the level of friars here is very high. The strength of such a human race is the weakest among the 4. How strong will the demons, the underworld, and the orcs be? Seeing that Tian was digesting what she had said, the nun continued, it should be something wrong with Chuantian Lingba that sent you to the realm of the wild spirit. Otherwise, according to the previous transmission situation, you will never get through this realm. To put it mildly, you are the lowest in the realm of the human race in the great wilderness spirit realm. If you want to seek refuge among the human race, you have to join the Wanyu League of the human race and wait for the Wanyu League to dispatch you. This is true of all the friars of the human race. If you have a high level and strong strength, you can become the high level of Wanyu League and command others. But in our realm, we have to obey. But this kind of obedience is not free. Almost all the cultivation resources of the human race are in the Wanyu League. The League will give appropriate distribution and rewards according to the merits of the monks. This is the way we can obtain resources. Wanyu League will assign appropriate tasks to the monks according to their strength. If they don't accept them, they will deal with them according to the League rules. Of course, they will not be killed, but will be arranged to do some chores, and the resources they get will be extremely poor. So, in the realm of the great wilderness, you need resources to become stronger and stronger to get more resources. Even if this endless cycle, so that the Terran can adhere to the present, without being exterminated. Tianmo was silent and listened quietly. The nun seems to be very satisfied with Tian's performance at this time. It's easy to see that Tian is silenced by her own words. Instead, she chuckled again and said, don't be too nervous. Generally, the tasks assigned by Wanyu League are in line with the realm of monks. If the tasks are too dangerous, they won't be completed by low-level monks. Moreover, in the Wanyu League, although the competition between monks is very cruel, they are never allowed to kill each other. Wanyu League will not cause too much internal friction within the Terran. Only competition is allowed, and competition is the driving force to become stronger and stronger. What kind of competition? Yi Tian hears some signs and asks. Haha, you should ask when there will be no competition. Competition is everywhere, at any time. Want to be strong, want to get cultivation resources, want more cultivation time, want to be a good Taoist partner. There is competition in all of this. Although there is no law of the jungle in the human race, the strong eat meat, and the weak may not be able to drink soup. This is also a cruel reality. The nun's voice was indifferent, and she seemed to have been used to what she said. Of course, some people have special identities. You can't compare them with others. In Wan Yu League, this is a special existence. Just think they are different, and there will be no imbalance. I believe that there are such groups on Earth, the nun continued. I understand. What do you call me? My name is Yi Tian. Yi Tian nodded and asked. Can he not know the special group that the nun said? At any time, anywhere, there is. Those are the special existence of a good father, a good mother, a good grandfather, a good grandmother, and a good Taoist couple. Heir. There should be no such thing as a good Taoist partner, unless he is a redundant son-in-law. It seems that since ancient times, the status of redundant son-in-law is not high. If you don't have that 3-foot waist, you can't find good seedlings. You have to be hard to strike iron. Yi Tian, good name. Few strokes make it easy to write. My name is Yu Ye. Don't call me elder sister Yi in the future, or you'll call me old. The nun said quickly with a smile on her face. Sister Yi, good. It's a good name. We really have a destiny. Your name has a leaf, and mine has a leaf. You can't write 2 words at a time, so Sister Yi, do you have a Taoist partner? Yi Tian asked with a smile. What do you think? You are only about 20 years old. Do you want to have an idea for your sister? The jade leaf sneered. A willow leaf thin eyebrow picked a pick, the voice also raised a few points. Yi Tian touched his nose and laughed a few times. Sister Yi, where do you want to go? I've heard from you that the competition among the Terrans here is fierce. If you already have Taoist companions, I have to be careful in the future, otherwise it will be bad for your Taoist companions to misunderstand you. Well, I don't have a partner, but you have to be careful. You're a monk from Zuxing, and I'm also a descendant of the Earth Star. That's why I'm talking to you so much. Otherwise, I'll send you to Wan Yu League. What's the matter with me? Yu Ye seems to be serious, but she has a smile in her eyes. Yu Ye, are you here? What's this? Just as she was talking, another nun came from a distance. She was very beautiful and looked like she was in her 20s. Ah, Jinji, this is a monk from the Earth Star. I'm going to take him to rehouse him. Yu Ye greets the visitor. Hello, master. Yi Tian feels that this person is also a golden elixir, and takes the lead in saying hello. Oh, this person's realm is not so good, but he can speak very well. Don't call me elder in the future, just call me younger sister. The nun, who came here, looked at Yi Tian and said with a smile. Well, how is the fairy sister? Yi Tian gave a good cry. Yi Tian, who do you think is the older of us? Yu Ye's eyes turned and suddenly asked. Who is big? Yi Tian glanced at the 2 nuns' chests and immediately made a comparison. He replied hypocritically, I can't see it. It's just as young and beautiful. His name is Jinji, and my name is Yu Ye. You should know who is older. Do you think it's appropriate for you to call my sister sister and my sister sister sister? Jade Leaf Jiao Hame realized the dissatisfaction in the heart. When Yi Tian caresses his forehead, he feels helpless. It seems that the competition of Wan Yu League is really fierce. Even his sisters are fighting so hard for a title. Well, both of them are sisters. It's nice to call them sisters. Yi Tian makes a circle. Well, let's take some losses. That's it. Jinji smiles, but he doesn't insist anymore. How did you get here from Earth? Jinji asked curiously. Say it on the way. Let's go to Yunfeng City to arrange this, little brother. Good. Jinji has no opinion. 2 women take Yi Tian on the road. What Tian said on the road is basically a repetition of what Tian and Yu said before. However, in terms of details, Tian got to know more about it after making inquiries. This Fengyun city is the city where Jinji and Yu live now. There are more than 600 such cities in Wanyu League, but Fengyun city is the smaller one among the more than 600 cities. In the past, some monks came from other spiritual regions. Every city, including the General League, would come to select people and offer some conditions for them to join their own city. But Earth Star, forget it. No one came, because for thousands of years, no one sent it. Generally, every 50 or 60 years, Xuantian Lingba will come to other spiritual realms, but most of them are random and may not come to any spiritual realm. It's just that the leader of the Wanyu Alliance is a great monk from the Earth Star, so every time he comes, he arranges the quota of the Earth Star, although there has been no monk there for thousands of years. If it wasn't for Yu who happened to pass here today, I'm afraid Tian didn't even have a guide. Flying in the sky for 6 or 7 hours, after several powerful cities, the three finally landed in a much smaller city. Even if it is a small city, its wall is 5 or 6 feet high. The scale of the houses in the city is also very grand. The pavilions are scattered, and you can't see the site at a glance. How many monks are there in Wanyu League? During the flight, Tian asked curiously. Among more than 600 cities, Fengyun City should be the smallest, with 67 million monks. How many monks can you have by yourself? Yu said casually. Here, Wanyu League encourages children to be born and raised. Every child with intermediate or higher qualification will be rewarded by Wanyu League. Population is the basis for the survival and continuation of the human race, but even if such a population, compared with the demon, the underworld, and the orc, it is still very small. Golden Branch immediately introduces a way. We live here. If you have anything to do in the future, please come to us and help you as much as you can. However, our situation is not very good, and we have to go out and do some tasks often. Yu pointed to a small courtyard below. Tian nodded and silently noted the location of the courtyard. Not a moment later, the three came to a magnificent mansion. Jinji pointed to the main hall and said, "This is the Lord's mansion of Fengyun City. Here, you will be issued with an identity card and registered. In the future, you will be the friar of Fengyun City." Tian nods his head indifferently. It doesn't matter where he is. Now he needs to settle down for a while and get to know more people. The ultimate goal is to find a way to leave the wilderness and return to the earth. If there is any chance here, he doesn't mind fighting for it. After all, even now back to earth, one cannot resist the invasion of the underworld and the demon world. As for Tianwai monk, Lao Long has been promoted to the 4th level, and he gave him some pills before. The speed of cultivation recovery must be faster than himself. In a short time, Lao Long should have no problem. There are 2 friars in front of the city master's mansion, one on the left and the other on guard. Jinji and Yu know each other, go up and say a few words, and then wave to Tian. The 2 friars were practicing in the Longmen area, just like Tian. One of them nodded to Tian, the Earth Star? It's really rare. It's said that the Earth Star hasn't had a friar for thousands of years. If you come here, you can become a family. Well, there's nothing else to say. You can go in. If you can find a way, you can be a servant in the city lord's mansion. Thank you very much. Tian arched his hand and walked into the lord's mansion with Jinji and Yu. Both of them do chores, but they are also the better ones. They just look at the gate of the city lord's mansion. They are very free and have a little fixed resources every month. Walking out of a distance, Jinji laughingly introduced. Air. Tian looks back at the straight back of the 2 friars. The friars and longmen can only look at the gate here. If it's taken to the earth, who will believe it? What's the best way for the monks and longmen? Tian asks curiously. Let's not talk about the special groups. The monks and longmen, who have no background, have been able to go out to carry out the mission, survive the mission and get the resources they want. This is the best way to mix. For example, Yu and I are the best in longmen, and then we break through the golden elixir, Jinji said with pride. 3 people walk while saying, finally along the road paved by bluestone into a look more majestic hall. Deacon Sheen. The jade leaf is in front of the main hall door to greet lightly. Come in. There was a low voice, and then the stone door slowly opened. It's here to register. Yi said to Yi Tian and came in first. No mission today? In the main hall, a white-faced middle-aged friar sat on the futon with his knees crossed. He looked at the three people coming in and asked. I had a mission, but it's not when I met a friar from the Earth Star. I took him back to Deacon Sheen to go through the procedure of joining the League. Yi said with a smile. Well. The middle-aged monk nodded and glanced at Yi Tian. The cultivation of Longmen realm is a little weaker, but it's okay to do some chores. I'll give you the hard work. With that, the old man made a gesture. A piece of fairy jade appeared out of thin air and flew to Yuye. After thinking about it, he took out another piece of fairy jade. Since you two are doing this together, let's do it one by one. The golden branch also jade leaf seized the fairy jade, the facial expression a joyground took in the past, Wei voice thanks. Just now you said it was sent from Earthstar? No one has been here for thousands of years, right? Is it because there is something wrong with the transmission of Heaven Spirit Treasure that the monks in this realm can be recognized by Heaven Spirit Treasure? The middle-aged monk looked at Yi Tian again and said, however, just after 20 years, you can reach this realm. You should have good aptitude. But you don't have to be too proud. There are many talents in the great wilderness. No matter how good their qualifications are, they have to work hard for a few years. What's your name? Yi Tian truthfully reported his name. Here no one knows himself, it doesn't matter. And as far as he knows, there has never been a fairy mountain in Fengsuan Lingyu, or even something similar to the fairy mountain. There should be no friars from Fengsuan Lingyu here. Just now, Jinji and Yuya's happy expression when they accepted 2 pieces of fairy jade made his heart sink. Are the resources of the great wilderness spiritual realm so scarce? Do the 2 friars in the golden elixir have this kind of expression for the sake of the 2 immortals? There are nearly 1 million pieces of Xianyu in my Shumi commandment, and I don't take it seriously. If you don't go to Fengsuan Lingyu, I'm afraid you can't accumulate such wealth. Yi Tian, the name is easy to remember. I'll assign you to the construction department. Elder Qin nodded, pondered a little, and then took out a piece of exquisite wooden card. He wrote on it for a while and handed it to Yi Tian. Remember to take this identity card. If you don't have this identity card, it will be difficult to move in Terran territory. They may also be killed as monks who do not want to join the League. Monks who do not want to join the League are not protected here. Yi Tian took the identity card and looked at it. It turned out that this kind of identity token was originally blank. The old man wrote down his name and the words from the Earth Star. What is the Department of Construction? Yi Tian understood it literally. After all, Yi Tian didn't ask too much about chores. Do chores. Are you kidding? Can Dante do chores here? Elder Qin, the affairs of the construction department take up too much time. Why don't you give this Yi Daoyu another chore? It was Yu Yi who spoke at this time. How can you be so choosy? What chores do you want to do? And Longmen Xin Chang looks impatient, and Yu Yi doesn't dare to say anything more. Xin Chang is always cultivating in Yuanyingjing, and he is qualified to say this, but it makes Yi Tian feel very unhappy. At the beginning, he thought about finding a place to practice in seclusion. But there are so many high-level monks here that you can't deal with people, can you? Walking around, if you don't have a formal identity, you can't say how much trouble it will bring. Even any Yuanyingjing can kill itself and plunder all its resources. It is also a helpless choice to come here with Jinji and Yuye. Excuse me, Deacon Sheen, what kind of chores does the construction department do? Yi Tian thought, no matter what, we should make it clear first. Well, Fengmyung City belongs to the border city of the human race. Its walls are in disrepair for a long time, and I'm afraid it can't resist the invasion of the orcs. Now it's planning to rebuild the walls, heighten and widen them. The construction department is responsible for the chores of building the walls. Deacon Sheen said lightly. In MPs, I want to be strong, but I don't want to build a wall. Yi Tian is not willing to say hello to all the people in Deacon Sheen's family. No wonder Yi pleads for himself. This is what a friar can do. Ask Elder Qin, how long does it take to build the city wall? Yi Tian is not good. Now turn around and ask clearly. Deacon Sheen said, the new wall is not renovated on the basis of the original wall. We need to expand the distance of 10 li from east, west, north and south to recover. After all, the city is already crowded, so we need to expand more urban space. So, the task is quite large, and then we have to strengthen the old city wall. In this way, there are a lot of stones to be used, so we need to take the stones first, and then repair the wall, and prepare to complete this task in 1 year. You're new here. First get familiar with the environment and work hard for a year. A year? So I don't want to be a coolie for a year? Yi Tian doesn't want to say anything. If it's easy to say for 3 or 2 days, he won't accept it for more than 4 days. After thinking about it, Yi Tian asked, if you don't do chores, can you go and take the task? Take on the task? It's not easy to take on a mission, and it's no different from seeking death for a monk in your realm to take on a mission. If you don't do chores, you can hand over 10 pieces of fairy jade to take over the task. You are responsible for your own life and death. These 10 pieces of fairy jade are not required by the city lord's office, but are used to provide for other friars who do chores. Deacon Sheen looked at Yi Tian disdainfully and said so. Yi Tian Dao didn't think so. People are cold and warm, and there are many things that dogs see people. He said directly, I'm a new monk to Wanyu League. I just want to ask how to have more time to practice. Haha, it's easy to do. When you are the high level of Wanyu League, for example, when you come to my realm and come to the city lord's mansion, I can practice all the time except to receive the new monks. Deacon Sheen said with a smile. You wanted to blow his head, but he asked patiently, just like a monk in my realm, what can I do if I want to spend more time on cultivation? For example, if I hand in a certain amount of xianyu, can I practice all day long? Haha, it seems that you still have some wealth. However, it's a dream. If everyone is like this, who will finish the task? Who will do the chores? Will the Terran develop? Do you care for yourself? Deacon Sheen sneered. However, I can tell you that there are 3 types of tasks. Level 3 tasks need to be performed 3 times a month, and the rest of the time is at your disposal. Level 2 tasks need to be performed 2 times a month, and the rest of the time is also at your disposal. Level 1 tasks only need to be performed once a month, and the rest of the time is when you sleep every day and nobody cares about you. Do you know why there is a difference in the number of tasks? The more advanced the task, the more dangerous it will be. The survival rate is very low. If you build a city wall, you will not lose your life. Yi Tian nodded and ignored the contempt in the tone of Deacon Sheen. He took out 10 pieces of fairy jade and put them on the desk. Then I will give up my chores and ask to participate in the first level task. Have you thought about it? Deacon Sheen glanced at the lingyu on the table and asked with surprise. Yi Tian nodded without hesitation. Think well, please Deacon Sheen complete. Alright, but you're going to die yourself. Don't blame me for not telling you clearly. Deacon Sheen swept the sleeve of his robe, put away the fairy jade, took out a talisman and said a few words in a low voice. Then he urged the magic power, and the talisman lit a fire and quickly turned to ashes. After a while, a friar in his 30s came in. Yi Tian glanced at him. He had a square face, and his body was very strong. He was very dusty with a sense of evil spirit. That is because see too much blood, and the formation of blood evil, although cannot see, smell, Yi Tian is able to sense. Zheng Tongling, this is Yi Tian. He has just been sent from the Earth Star. If he wants to join the first level mission camp, he will give it to you. Take it away. Deacon Sheen said directly. He? Zheng Tong took a look at Yi Tian, showing a look of surprise. In the middle of Longmen realm, I'm afraid I can't carry out the first level task? Zheng Tongling felt the realm of Yi Tian and shook his head. Deacon Sheen also knows that the friars in the first level mission camp are all at the peak of Longmen realm, or even at the half step of Jindan realm. If the friars in the middle of Longmen Realm go to do the first level mission, they will die. Deacon Sheen took a look at Yi Tian and said, "It's his own choice. I've made it clear to him, but he still insists on it. You have no right to refuse the personnel assigned by the city lord's office." Zheng Tong took a few steps and came to Yi Tian. "This Taoist friend, please think it over carefully. Although there are more rewards for the first level task, there is enough time for cultivation, but it is really dangerous. In the last mission, 160 monks carried out it together, and only 76 came back, which was far more cruel than imagined. You just came from the Earth Star, and you don't know the danger. If you enter the first level mission camp, you don't have to think about taking advantage of other people's strength to complete the mission in troubled waters. This kind of task, everyone cannot take care of themselves, let alone take care of you. Moreover, it is impossible to let you into the mission camp without assigning you tasks, which is unfair to others. Zheng Tongling, I've decided. As for the rest, I'll be responsible for myself. If one day it falls, I'll never blame anyone." Although Commander Zhang was not optimistic about Yi Tian understood that this man was also kind-hearted and said. After hearing this, Zheng Tongling gave a little thought to Deacon Sheen, and then said, "Come with me. Take Yi Tian out of the room." The whole process, Jinji and Yuya did not say a word. They also see that Yi Tian's idea is very good. I'm afraid no one can change his idea. Wait, little brother. Jinji and Yuya look at each other and chase after each other. They give Yi Tian a piece of Xianyu they just got. Jinji said, "You are brought by us. We can't watch you die like this. Take this fairy jade. When the mana doesn't continue, you can supplement it. Although you may have more fairy jade, it's better to have one more. Thank you, two elder sisters. I'd better keep the Xianyu for myself. I have it here. To show my gratitude, I'll give it to you." Yi Tian said. A storage bag appeared in his hand, threw it to Jinji, and then followed Zheng Tongling out of the city master's house. The golden branch is imprinted with divine thoughts, feeling the things inside, and its face changes slightly. "What's the matter? What's inside?" Yu Yi asks curiously. Jinji shakes her head, pulls Yuya out of the city master's mansion and drives Fei Jian back to the courtyard where she and Yuya live. Entered the room, closed the door, and then gesture move, a pile of fairy jade appeared on the table. "So much?" Yuya's eyes brightened and exclaimed. "Yes, this little brother has a lot of wealth. There are 200 pieces of fairy jade. It can be used for a long time." Jinji also said with surprise. "He's really a good younger brother. Maybe he knows the task is very dangerous, so he gave these Xianyu to our sisters. Don't use them all. In case the younger brother doesn't fall after finishing the task, he may still need Xianyu cultivation. It's a pity that he's too stubborn to listen to anyone's advice," Yui said, holding her chin in her hands at the same time. Yi Tian flew over a large courtyard with Zheng Tong leading the imperial sword and fell down. This is the first level mission camp. There are rooms to live in, or you can find your own accommodation. However, when there is a task, we must come here as soon as possible. After introducing Yi Tian's identity card for a long time, Commander Zhang pasted it on a disc-shaped artifact to extract Yi Tian's information. Let Yi Tian extract a little idea, and make his own jade slips. After giving Yi Tian several letters, he turns around and leaves. After Zheng Tongling left, Yi Tian didn't stay here. After remembering the location, he left Fengyun City and stopped in a mountain more than 200 miles outside the city. There is no one in the room. Yi Tian suddenly goes underground. After the understanding of the nature of the earth in Xianshan, Yi Tian's use of the earth now has greatly improved than before. Not only is there no trace on the ground, but also the speed of the earth's escape is incomparable before. A moment later, he had gone thousands of meters underground. If someone hadn't used his mind to check, he would not have found his whereabouts. But then again, if someone did look at it, even if it was tens of thousands of meters away, there would be no escape. Underground, Yi Tian took out the spacetime tower after creating a huge space with the big seal magic weapon. Qin Luoshan and Ear are practicing. Xiao Lizi is still sleeping. Yi Tian doesn't worry about this little guy. Now he is a fourth-order spirit beast, which is equivalent to the dragon demon. After Tian took a pill specially made for it, this guy went into hibernation. Sensing that Tian comes in, Jin Luoshan and Er both open their eyes, and both of them are surprised. Why Tian didn't say hello right away. He took a close look with Tian's eyes. That's right. Jin Luo God is Jin Luo God, and Er is Er. They didn't change each other's appearance. What happened? I haven't been in for a long time this time? Jin Luo asked anxiously. It's suffocating, brother Yi. I want to relax everywhere. Will you take me out? Er starts to be charming. Tian sat on the futon with a wry smile and said, be good, don't make trouble. Listen to me about the current situation. I think it's not good news for you. Jin Luoshan nodded, his eyes never left Tian's face. Er also calms down, earning big good-looking eyes, flickering and waiting for the following. Since Tiandu has said that, it is estimated that the actual situation is more serious than it is now. Sure enough, Tian's next first sentence made them look silly. It's not the Earth, it's not the square-inch realm. Jin Luo God and Er collective astonishment. And then? Where is this? Jin Luo asked. Tian laughed bitterly again. This is a place called Da Wanglingyu. I've never heard of it before, let alone been here. Is a coincidence, unknowingly came here. But that's not the point. There are 2 points. The first point is that we can't go back to the Earth for the time being, and we can't go back to the spiritual realm. I've just arrived here, and I haven't found a way to go back yet. The second point is that you may not be able to leave here for a long time to come. Because as long as you go outside, you will be hunted down, unless you join the Terran Alliance here, called Wanyu Alliance. After joining the League, they have to do labor service and work for them every day. If they don't work, they have to carry out the task of dying. There's no other way, or you'll be killed. Listen to Tian say so. Jin Luo God and Er look at each other. Jin Luoshan said fortunately that she was back to nature soon. She said with a cool smile, it's nothing, but you can come to see us often. Anyway, you have to practice here. You are safe outside. However, Er was not so calm as Jin Luoshan. She pursed her lips and looked very unhappy. But in this way, it seems to be a little cute, a pretty little lowly. Don't worry too much. Just be patient. It's a good chance to practice. Look how fast you're entering the country. Luoshan has 8 floors in the cave, and Er has reached the middle of the sea view. If your temple master's mother knew, how much surprise would it be? Do you want to surprise her? If you want to, just good, practice. It's so easy to pacify Er's mood that Tian swallows a pill and enters the cultivation state. Tian has brought a lot of spiritual materials from the square-inch Spirit Valley. Not many of them are suitable for his current cultivation. Most of them are suitable for cave cultivation or spiritual animals. Some are suitable for the use of higher realm, such as Jindan, or even Yuanyingjing. As a result, Tian does not have much talent left. The main reason is that a large part of it was used some time ago. Even so, Tian didn't know how to use it sparingly. As long as he had spare time, he would refine it into pills and break through a level as soon as possible. As for the rest, he would talk about it later. It's not bad. The elixirs made by those spiritual materials have already improved his cultivation from the middle of the sea-watching realm before he first entered the world of 10,000 spirits to the middle of Longmen realm. In a short period of a few months, it has been upgraded to a great level, which is absolutely sensational. Although Tian spent most of his time in the Spacetime Tower, the speed of time here was 3 times slower than that of the outside world, and he also spent 3 times more time. However, from the outside time, it has taken me about half a year to achieve this goal. There is no concept of time in the Tower of Time and Space. There is no sunrise or sunset. There is only time passing silently. Time goes by bit. I don't know how long after that, suddenly the messenger in Tian's arms came out with a voice, "Go to the first level mission camp immediately." Tian quickly took out a messenger and took a look at it. The messenger quickly turned into a flame and disappeared. Well, I should go out. Tian looks asu, said A, out of the time and space tower. Leaving the ground, Tian flies to Fengyun City with an ordinary flying sword. Along the way, I guess what kind of task will it be? His goal is very simple, finish the task as soon as possible, and then come back to continue to practice, so a month has passed. If you finish another task, you can practice for another month. If you can find out the best way to leave the spiritual realm in the wilderness during this period, if you can't find out, wait for your cultivation to improve, and then think of other ways. It's not what he really wants to come to the great wilderness spiritual realm, but there's no way now. Let's go step by step. Before he arrived at Fengyun City, Tian saw some friars busy outside the city gate. A lot of big black rocks had been piled outside the empty city, and some people were using their magic power to dig a deep ditch underground. This should be the beginning of the construction of the city wall. Tian just glanced at it, then flew over from the city, and soon found the location of the first-level mission camp in the courtyard. At this time, the courtyard, crowded, has gathered hundreds of people, many people gathered together to talk about something in a low voice. The arrival of Tian didn't attract much attention. A few people who saw him were surprised and didn't pay attention anymore. In a corner of the yard, Tian stood there alone, waiting for the task to be assigned. Later, some people came one after another. After falling down, they looked for familiar friars and talked in a low voice. Tian looked a little. The ratio of male and female friars is about 1:1, the specific age cannot be seen, they are all 30 or 40 years old. Many of them have strong evil spirit, which is much stronger than those monks he saw in the square-inch spiritual realm. While observing, there was a flash of light in the sky, and another monk came down. Tian looks over and sees that this person is the commander with the surname Zhang. Take out your ID card. As soon as Zhang Tong led him here, the friars in the courtyard immediately calmed down. He said so without a word. Tian didn't know why, but he took out his identity card according to Zhang Tongling. The other friars seemed to be familiar with it, so they took out their identity cards and went up to the sky. Zhang Tongling takes out the round spirit weapon and holds it in his palm. Tian finds that his identity card lights up for a while, and then returns to its original dim color. 510. Chief Sheng took a look at the round spirit weapon and said in a loud voice. Tian nodded silently, as if he understood the role of the round spirit weapon, which should be similar to the role of sign in registration. Count the number of people to see who came and who didn't come. So you can also record who performs the task. Urgent mission: more than 300 friars of the second-level mission camp in Longmen territory fell down during the mission, and their bodies were stored in a stronghold by the underworld. Our task is to take back or destroy the bones of the Taoist friends. We must not let the underworld make flesh or bones. Chief Zhang said in a deep voice. The monks in the yard were silent, but no one spoke. Tian estimated that this kind of thing may often happen. Everyone has been numb, eyes only angry flame, and will not shout any righteous slogan. Zhang Tongling continued, in the strongholds, there are mainly the underworld generals and the demon king level of the underworld cultivation. There are a few underworld kings. But the second-level mission camp of Jindan will cooperate with us. They will distract the underworld. The remaining underworld generals and underworld kings are our main targets. This operation was carried out in the dark fog. We are at a disadvantage, not in how much we killed the enemy. The goal of the mission is not to let the dark cultivation get those skeletons. That's the point. I understand. The monks in the courtyard answered in unison. Remember, if you can kill Mingxiu, you can get back their storage in bones as much as possible, and calculate the credit according to the amount you get. According to the old rule, individual credit is calculated on an individual basis, while the credit of each team is calculated as a whole. There are 510 monks in the first-level mission camp of Longmen. Because the underworld stronghold is too large, I decided to divide it into 10 teams, each team has 51 people, and the next team is the next one. With that, Commander Zhang called the names of 5 friars and asked them to serve as team leaders and select their own team members. In order to achieve relative fairness, everyone takes turns to name the players they choose. They seem to be very familiar with each other, and the process goes on very fast. Round by round, the friars named all stand behind the captain. In the end, Tian was the only one standing alone in the courtyard. At this time, the captain of the 5th team Lin Zhongquan looked at Tian and Zheng Tongling. This Taoist friend just came over from the earth a few days ago. He handed in 10 pieces of fairy jade to join our first-level mission camp. We will be familiar with him later. Zheng Tongling said. In the future, is there any future? This Yi Dao Yu is just in the middle of the Longmen realm. Isn't he going to die in the dark fog? Lin Zhongquan frowned and said, if you can't replace us, our team will go to 50 people. Don't fail to finish the task and send another body to the underworld. Is the second-level mission camp trapped in the underworld stronghold? So many people can't do it. Don't you know the danger? Don't worry, Taoist friend, I will pay attention to my own safety. No matter what the result is, it's my own choice. If you don't take me with you, then even if I carry out this mission, the next time will be at my own disposal? Tian said calmly. Lin Zhongquan's later words are pushed back by Tian's words. Yes, he has no right to refuse his teammates to participate in the task. In that case, the monks with good relations will not have to participate in the action. In a word, they can go back to practice without taking you to play. Come back and get ready to go. Lin Zhongquan finally cheered helplessly. Here you are. It's Qingxin grass. It's in your mouth. It can resist the resentment in the dark fog to a certain extent. After Tian passed, Lin Zhongquan gave him a leaf like grass. Kink Sinko? Is there Kink Sinko here? Why don't you refine Huayuan pill? Tian frowned and asked. Dan, the consumption of Dan medicine is so much, can it be refined? Besides, can anyone refine the Qingxin pill you said? Lin Zhongquan seems to be very impatient to say a sentence, although suddenly think of what like asked, how do you know the Huayuan Dan? Well, don't talk about it. Let's go now. Their conversation was interrupted by Zheng Tongling's cheers, and then he flew out first. No one else spoke anymore. Under the leadership of the team leader, they followed Zheng Tongling and flew out of the city. After nearly 2 hours of flight, the crowd came to a thick sea of black fog. Tian looked around. The fog sea was so big that he couldn't see the edge at a glance. This is what the commander said about the stronghold? Tian asks the middle-aged nun around him. Yes, this should be considered as a small stronghold. This small stronghold is only a few hundred li in circumference, which is used by the underworld to expand outward. Here is no longer within the sphere of influence of the Terran. There are many strongholds of the underworld, hundreds of miles away from each other. When all the strongholds are connected, it means that this land is completely occupied by the underworld. The nun explained in detail. Why do you want the monks in Longmen? For example, in this stronghold, there is no high level of meditation, so it's easy for the Terran friars to solve the problem with the great ability of Jade Pu. Tian doesn't understand ground to ask away, this also is the doubt in his heart all the time. The nun shook her head, it's the friars who come from the Earth Star. Everyone knows that. However, there are many problems that you can't think of. For example, the great friars of Yupu realm, unless there is a big event involving the survival of the human race, they will do it. On weekdays, they are all practicing in seclusion, and they also want to improve their realm. If they are required to do everything, in the end, all their time will be wasted on these trivial things, and their realm and strength will not be improved. Aren't they waiting for the top powers of the underworld, the demon and the orc to break through and destroy the Terran? The strong in other realms are the same. We monks in Longmen realm need to practice, don't they? What's more, they also have their tasks. If these small things need the help of high-level monks, don't they kill chickens with ox knives? Are they willing to do so? For example, I heard that you didn't want to build walls, so you came to the mission camp. Why don't you want to? Don't you need to practice? If you go to build the wall, it must be faster and better than the monks in the cave, isn't it? Listen to her words. Tian is speechless, only secretly wry smile. In the final analysis, in the great wilderness spiritual realm, all monks are for their own cultivation, or for their own survival. Even if it's to carry out a task, it doesn't need to say anything awe-inspiring. It's just a way to realize cultivation and survival. In the realm of the great wilderness, this principle was expounded incisively and vividly by the nun in front of Tian. However, on this road, some people have fallen, just like the monks in the second-level mission camp of Longmen. And some people are about to fall, such as some people in the first-level mission camp who enter the dark fog. And then those who come back alive go through the same process again and again. In fact, no matter which world you are in, there is no time to be quiet. It's just that someone carries the load for you. Tian can't see it here. And on Earth, Tian thought of himself. Isn't he the one who bears the weight? That is a kind of responsibility, but also a kind of responsibility, so we'll feel tired, we'll be exhausted. When Tian was thinking about it, a monk from far away flew over quickly. He only looked at it a little and then flew into the dark fog. There are about 20 people. At this time, Zheng Tongling said again, Jindan Level 2 mission camp has entered the dark fog. Our 5 teams go deep into the dark fog from one direction. Pay attention, after completing the mission, send the signal immediately without delay. With these words, Commander Zhang flew into the fog from the front. Come with me. Lin Zhongquan looks back at the 51 friars of his team behind him, and finally looks at Tian. He shakes his head slightly, sighs, and waves the crowd along the edge of the fog sea to fly in another direction. After flying more than 100 miles, Lin Zhongquan stopped, and then led the crowd into the sea of fog. After entering the sea of fog, Tian takes out his fierce flying sword for the first time. He feels that the resentment in the sea of fog is heavier than that in the Devil's Cave in northern Xinjiang. He simply lets the fierce flying sword devour the resentment. Click. Click. In front of the line, there were several noises, and then they disappeared. Tian doesn't pay attention to it. It's 2 Ming generals who come to intercept them. Lin Zhongquan turns them down one after another and takes each other's storage in bones. The underworld general is roughly equivalent to a monk's view of the sea. For Lin Zhongquan, who has reached the peak of the Longmen realm, there is no threat to nature. After more than 10 miles, a large number of soldiers and generals from the underworld began to come, and there were also some practices in the realm of the underworld king. 51 friars, including Tian, had all been fighting with the underworld. Tian's fierce flying swords are sent out one by one. In a moment, he looks over the skeletons, and then Lei Chu moves. A large thunder falls down, killing the body of Mingxiu. Everything is easy to do. The strength of these cultivation is still too weak. Some skeletons at the level of king of the underworld have been killed by other friars, and the rest of them are small minions. It's no wonder that there are so many things in the high-level secret cultivation store. Of course, those teammates are in the high level. They seem to have rich experience in fighting. They can know which piece of bone is stored with one sweep of their mind, and then put it into the bag with one move. Good job, Yi Daoyu. The nun who talked with Tian just now knocked over a ghost general and turned her head to praise Tian. Not bad. Tian replied casually. All of a sudden, he frowned and waved a fierce sword to Lin Zhongquan. Captain Lin, there are more than 2,000 Ming Jun coming here. We have to avoid them. What? More than 2,000 Ming Jun? How do you know? Lin Zhongquan looks at Tian suspiciously and asks, the dark fog has a very strong suppression effect on the mind. Even Lin Zhongquan can't find out. How can he believe Tian's words? I sensed it. Come with me and let's avoid it. Tian naturally saw it through the view of Liang Xingkong, but he could not say clearly that Liang Xingkong was his secret. Unfortunately, before climbing the fairy mountain, he released more than half of the Liang Xingkong. Now there are only more than 40 Liang Xingkong with him. If he had known that he would leave the earth, he would have taken all of them with him. How can there be more than 2,000 Dark Kings? It's impossible. When the task is assigned, it is based on the strength of both sides, otherwise we will not die in vain. Lin Zhongquan didn't believe it. If he was the king of the 200 underworld, he might believe it, because it was within the range they could bear. But, 2,000? That's bullshit. They only have 510 players in total. How can they fight 2,000 Mingjun? It's no different from death. Especially when his team met 2,000, could other teams not? How many Dark Kings are there in the stronghold? In addition, there are also Hades-level meditation. Lin Zhongkuan ignored Yi Tian's warning and continued to fight forward. Yi Tian didn't say anything. He knew that it would be useless if Lin Zhongkuan didn't meet the 2,000 Ming Kings and have a close contact with them. At first sight, all the 50 friars in the same team had experienced the battlefield for a long time and had rich combat experience. After a great war, they killed a lot of Ming Xiu, but none of them left behind. After another 4 or 5 miles, Lin Zhongkuan looks at Yi Tian and continues to kill the enemy. The eyes were very clear. They were slanting. Yi Tian seems to read out the meaning in his eyes. What do you say about Mingjun? Where is the 2,000 king of the underworld? In fact, up to now, those Dark Kings are still more than 50 miles away from here, but they are coming in this direction. At that time, they were far away from each other. They certainly didn't realize the existence of this group of monks, because at that time, about 2,000 Mingjun were moving step by step mechanically. And now, they turned into white shadows and fled here. Among them, the meaning is to taste by yourself. About 10 minutes later, Lin Zhongkuan, who was rushing forward, suddenly looked up to the front, and then he yelled, "Back quickly, a lot of Mingjun." With these words, he has led the team to retreat quickly. When he passes by Yi Tian, his eyes are full of shock. Yes, he has sensed that, with limited divine thoughts, he found that there were at least 2,000 Dark Kings coming. Not yet? Looking at Yi Tian standing there motionless, Lin Zhongkuan gave a big drink. He thought Yi Tian was scared and silly because of too many Mingjun. "Captain Lin, you withdraw, I'll cut off the rear. Otherwise, the whole army will be destroyed," Yi Tian said calmly. Lin Zhongkuan did not forget to remind himself that he made Yi Tian feel good for him. As he said, in the dark fog, the speed of meditation is faster than that of the Terran friars, and it has more advantages in fighting. It's just like bullying people when 2,000 Ming Kings fight against 51 Dragon's Gate. Nonsense, let's go, you can't stop a breath. Lin Zhongkuan is anxious and reaches for Yi Tian. However, Yi Tian's body moves, as if it turns into a wind. He breaks away from Lin Zhongkuan's grasp, and his body flashes to meet the numerous white skeleton King Ming who are swarming by the other party. "Yi Tian, you are going to die." Lin Zhongkuan yelled and chased Yi Tian. He did not forget to turn around and ordered, "You should avoid yourself first. Today, the intelligence is wrong. The task can be cancelled." Yes, all unequal forces are misinformed. Because it's impossible. Unless you get this information before you do a mission, it will be a mission to death. However, what he didn't expect was that when he looked back, Yi Tian had already gone far away. In his sight, Yi Tian was waving his sword to meet those Dark Kings. As soon as Lin Zhongkuan's eyes were fixed, he stamped his feet and turned to fly away. He has been dealing with Mingxiu all the year round. He knows very well that with his own cultivation, it's hard for him to retreat even in the face of 3 or 5 demons. Not to mention, the dense number of 2,000, if he rushed up desperate, not only cannot save Yi Tian, he must also be buried in the sea of fog. In the process of realization, Yi Tian has been submerged in the boundless sea of white bones and skeletons, and no more shadow can be seen. Lin Zhongkuan flew out with a heavy heart until he reached the edge of the fog sea and caught up with many of his teammates. What about Yi Daoyu? The middle-aged woman who talked with Yi Tian looked at Lin Zhongkuan and asked anxiously. Out of the sea of fog, it's not the main venue of Mingxiu. Everyone is basically safe. Lin Zhongkuan took a long breath and said, "Yi Daoyu, in order to protect us, went to intercept those Dark Kings alone. Now I'm afraid he's buried in the dark fog." Nonsense, can his accomplishments stop him? It's really. That female repair a pair of hate iron does not become steel posture, obviously a strange leaf day self-sufficiency, but suddenly realized what, quickly looked to fog sea. Everyone seemed to understand the nun's meaning, and at the same time, they opened their eyes to the fog. Yes. Yi Tian's cultivation certainly can't stop Mingjun. But what about the Dark Lords? Why is there no sign of catching up? www.novelhall.com, the fastest update of. In front of me, there was no movement in the sea, and I couldn't see any skeleton. It should be those Dark Kings who didn't chase out. Lin Zhongquan shook his head with a sad look on his face. Yi Tian's cultivation can't escape so many evil hands of Mingjun. It's our shame to let a teammate in the middle of Longmen realm cover for us. However, he went so suddenly that I couldn't stop him. At this point, the fifth group of friars, including Lin Zhongquan, suddenly looked at the sea of fog. 10 seconds later, a figure flew out of it and fell in front of the crowd. Yi Tian! Several exclamations sounded at the same time. Yi Tian, showing everyone smile, quickly glanced at the crowd. I'm back, you doubt you are not hurt. That's great. It's really gratifying that Yi Daoyu can get out of danger safely. Otherwise, we will all bear guilt and be sad. Lin Zhongquan patted Yi Tian's shoulder heavily. It can be seen that Yi Tian is really happy with his appearance. Yi Daoyu, you should do things according to your ability in the future. You are not so lucky every time. When the nun saw that Yi Tian came back safely, she also looked relaxed, but she still taught her face to advise Yi Tian. At this time, the fog rolled in the dark fog, and many white skeletons appeared in the public's field of vision. It was the King of the Dark. Be careful, everyone. Step back quickly. Although Mr. Ming can't leave the fog for a long time, the threat is not small in a short time. Lin Zhongquan said aloud, with many teammates back out of the distance. Yi Daoyu, you also withdraw. Seeing that Yi Tian didn't move in the same place, Lin Zhongquan cried out anxiously. Unexpectedly, Yi Tian not only didn't come back, but took a few steps to the sea of fog. He yelled to the Mingjun who rushed to the edge of the dark fog, "Dare you come after me? Are you tired of living? Get out of here. If you don't, I'll kill you." With these words, he took a fierce sword in his hand and made a big step towards many Ming kings. Those Dark Kings seem to be very afraid of Yi Tian. They make a hoarse roar and show their tusks to Yi Tian like a vicious dog. Yi Daoyu, come back quickly, why don't you let people worry so much? The nun called out in the distance and didn't agree with Yi Tian. She was quite angry. However, the next moment, she was a pupil to stay in the spot. Go away. With Yi Tian approaching the sea of fog step by step, after another big drink, the Dark Kings who were still roaring fiercely before no longer had the same fierceness. They coaxed and turned to escape in the dark fog, and disappeared in a moment. Yi Daoyu, what's the matter? Those Dark Kings seem to be afraid of you? Lin Zhongquan, stupefied for a moment, surprised to come to Yi Tian's side, looking at the vast sea of fog that has lost the trace of many, Mingjun asked. Yes, these guys are also afraid of death. They killed more than 200 people in it just now. They must be scared. If you don't go back, I'll kill them. Yi Tian said with disapproval. More than 200? All the friars of the 15, including Lin Zhongquan, looked at Yi Tian in amazement. Their eyes looked like they were about to fall down, and their faces were full of amazement. This cow is blowing a little big, isn't it? No one will believe Yi Tian's words. In a moment, it is impossible for a monk in Longmen to kill more than 200 Ming kings. I'm afraid it's impossible for the friars of Jindanjing to do all this. Yi Tian didn't explain anything. It's meaningless for him. The meaning of his coming is to finish this task. If he can rescue his teammates, he will not refuse if he doesn't have any danger. Captain Lin, what's next? The body of the Taoist friend of the second-level mission camp in Longmen is not in the position of the stronghold. I think if it is in the stronghold, it should be in the storage bone of Mingxiu. Yi Tian avoided the previous topic and said so. Lin Zhongquan pondered for a moment, and said, the mission intelligence is wrong this time, so we can't continue to carry out it. There is an agreement in the mission camp. All the tasks whose intelligence is seriously inconsistent with the facts are invalid tasks, so we don't have to continue to carry out them, because the situation may be very chaotic at that time, and the team leaders can make decisions without the consent of the commander. But at the same time, because this mission is invalid, we have to take another effective mission this month. There is such a saying? Yi Tian was a little unwilling. He wasted so much time and became an invalid task. But it's really dangerous inside. It's impossible to force these teammates to continue to carry out the task. If they go in and complete the task, first, they don't want to be in the limelight. Second, the task is not so simple. If there are too many Pluto in it, it's a very troublesome thing. We'll wait here for the other team's friends for a while. After meeting, we'll return to Fengyun City together. Lin Zhongquan didn't explain anymore. He simply said a word and didn't speak. At this moment, he suddenly moved and took out a messenger from his arms. Inside came Zhang Tongling's voice, the fifth team, at all costs, close to the center of the underworld stronghold, rescue other teammates, meet and break through again. When the voice finished, the messenger turned into a flame and burned to ashes. At this time, all the team members looked at Lin Zhongquan. The information is very obvious, at all costs to continue to carry out the task, may not care too much about the task result, but must save the teammates. It's a dead order. With this order, if the intelligence does not conform to the actual situation, the rule that the mission can be cancelled automatically will be invalid. All team members, prepare, rush into the dark fog, move closer to the center and rescue other teammates. Lin Zhongquan closed his lips and looked at the sky. Then he turned his head and gave a loud order. I'll take the lead. Seeing that this task can continue, Yi Tian is the first one to attack the dark fog without hesitation. For the friars of the fifth team, those dark kings are strong opponents. For Yi Tian, it's a piece of cake. Before climbing the Immortal Mountain, Yi Tian had killed the king of the underworld, even the king of the underworld who lived in the flesh and bones. After climbing the Immortal Mountain, what he brings to Yi Tian is the transformation, the more powerful body, and his understanding of the peak of the five elements Taoism. In addition, he swallowed the elixir in the time and space tower some time ago, and his magic power is much more powerful. Before, in the dark fog, he had no one to fight with those dark kings. After reaching the purpose of covering, he withdrew from the sea of fog. It's only a matter of time before we can kill more than 2,000 Ming kings. Seeing that Yi Tian is in the lead, Lin Zhongquan wants to say something, but he ponders a little and doesn't say anything. He just follows Yi Tian with many team members. At this time, he has realized that it is not so simple for Yi Tian to get away from the fog. And the scene of drinking back many dark kings was a great impact on his nerves. Until now, he didn't believe it was true. However, he couldn't help believing that he had seen everything with his own eyes. With the fastest speed, rush to the center of the dark fog, rescue the trapped teammates, Captain Lin, and follow my route. Yi Tian said aloud as he flew to the dark fog. With these words, he suddenly flew to the left, which had deviated from the direction to the center of the fog sea. Lin Zhongquan hesitated a little, but suddenly found that countless Ming soldiers and Ming generals were coming in front of him. Although they are not very powerful, there are too many of them. If they are entangled by each other, their speed will definitely be affected. Lin Zhongquan quickly turns to sit and keeps up with Yi Tian. At this time, he finds that there are a lot of meditation on his right side. On the other hand, on the left side, no large number of white bones and skeletons were found. A few of Mingxiu had been killed by Yi Tian, who was in front of him. All team members, follow up Yi Dao Yu. Seeing this, Lin Zhongquan orders in a hurry. At this time, he is shocked by Yi Tian's powerful mind, that is, he takes his own peak cultivation in Longmen realm and fails to find the dark cultivation coming from the front and right. But Yi Tian discovered it first. In order to wait for the players behind, Yi Tian didn't let go of all the speed at this time. If he really raised the speed to the limit, I'm afraid he would have thrown those players out of 10 blocks. Along the way, Yi Tian led the fifth team to change direction several times. At this time, he always avoided the front interception of the Mingxiu army in advance. In this way, there was not much fighting, and the group moved very fast. Before long, they had gone deep into the dark fog for more than 100 li. There are hundreds of Ming Jun blocking the way in front of us. We can't get around. We have to rush through. I'll kill in the front, and all my teammates will be responsible for keeping the bones at this time, Yi Tianxian shouts. The fierce flying sword in his hand turns into a long one under the influence of the magic power. Then he sweeps it into a piece of powerful sword. The two Ming kings who bear the brunt of the attack are killed by him with one sword. Lei Shu. With the sound of cheering again, a thunderbolt fell, hitting the boneless body of Mingxiu, which turned into a wisp of blue smoke in a twinkling of an eye. Kaka kaka. Yi Tian burst out a powerful momentum and fell with one sword. The thunder fell one after another, and they cooperated with the fierce sword very well. One sword cuts the bones, and thunder kills the body one after another. The action is like flowing water without any stagnation. The fierce soldier's flying sword, in the process of continuous waving and killing, gives out a buzzing sound of vibration. Every time the battle is going to the bone, the red and black sword on will give out a layer of this dazzling white light. Even if he was made as hard as a magic weapon by the king of the underworld, he was extremely vulnerable under the fierce sword. Kaka kaka. Yi Tian's speed of killing Mingjun is very fast, but his body shape is not much slower. Lots and lots of Mingjun died under his fierce sword and Lei Shu. Many of the teammates behind only have to resist from both sides of a small number of Mingjun, the rest is out of the middle of the division to collect Yi Tian defeated bones. Even if so many people choose together, they are in a hurry. Because Yi Tian's speed of killing Mingjun is too fast. A sword beat back a white skeleton king. Lin Zhongquan looked at Yi Tian in front of him. At this time, his mood could not be expressed in words. Up to now, he finally believes that what Yi Tian said before is true. The fifth team is like a sharp knife, which cuts through the sea of fog. Yi Tian is the blade of the sharp knife. Invincible. More than 200 Ming kings were cut to pieces by Yi Tian in this process, and most of them were damaged. The rest of the skeletons were scattered and fled. Yi Tian didn't chase them. He went straight ahead and killed them in the center of the dark fog. On the way, some of them overlapped and stopped, and Yi Tian moved forward like a murderer. After a big wave of meditation, the number of white bones and skeletons in front of them gradually decreased, but the realm of these emperors was obviously stronger than that of a large number of meditation before. Yi Tian knocked down a few of them in a couple of seconds. He felt the picture in his mind and said to the friars behind him, "Captain Lin, let the Taoist friends speed up and keep up. The first level mission camp is in danger." With that, Yi Tian slightly released his speed and rushed to the depth of the dark fog all the way. Everyone, keep up with the speed. Today's Ming Jun doesn't seem to be as strong as he thought. Keep up with him. Don't fall behind. Looking at Yi Tian's figure farther and farther away, Lin Zhongquan cried out. The sword in his hand was chopped to a king of the underworld who came from the side. The king of the underworld was furious, and a bone knife in his metacarpal bone met him. When swords and swords intersect, powerful mana waves collide with each other and make a boom, which makes Lin Zhongquan, who is already the peak of the dragon dream, shake his body and pop back a distance. Lin Zhongquan's face changed slightly. So these dark kings are not weak. Lin Zhongquan immediately has a judgment: the king of the underworld is not weak, but Yi Tian is too strong, so it seems that these king of the underworld are easy to deal with in Yi Tian. Fortunately, after Yi Tian's crazy killing, the remaining Ming Jun is just a few. Lin Zhongquan and other people join hands to kill him. Although it took some effort, he finally rushed over without danger. Further on, the sound of fierce fighting came from time to time. Occasionally, the howling of Ming Xiu could be heard. However, the number of Ming Xiu was so large that Lin Zhongquan and others could not help frowning. Lin Zhongquan and others are very familiar with the stronghold of the underworld. They have dealt with the underworld practitioners more than once. But it's the first time to see such a dense meditation as today. However, in such intensive meditation, Yi Tian is advancing rapidly and sweeping the whole area with one sword. His fighting power is really appalling. When the fifth group of friars followed Yi Tian to the depth of the dark fog, they saw that the fighting situation ahead was more fierce. Many other members of the Siege Level 1 mission battalion were modified. All over the sky are white skeletons fighting with monks. Click. Yi Tian comes forward, cuts off a white skeleton with one sword, and saves a monk. Follow me. Yi Tian doesn't have any superfluous nonsense. With that, he slashes to another Ming Jun with his sword. The friar vaguely remembers the appearance of Yi Tian. When Yi Tian makes a move, he feels Yi Tian's cultivation. In the middle of Longmen realm, however, his fighting power is not in line with that of the middle stage of Longmen realm. He has been fighting with him for a long time, and Ming Jun has been killed by the other side. What a powerful Dragon's Gate, the friar murmured and joined the fifth team. Good. Team 5 is finally coming. How are you? How many casualties are there? In the dark fog, seeing that Lin Zhongquan had brought people to the front, Zheng Tongling, who was killing Mingxiu to break through the encirclement, asked aloud. Zheng Tongling, none of us was injured or killed. Lin Zhongquan returned. Oh, you're lucky. We can't do it if we don't meet Mr. Ming. We met more than 1,000 Mr. Ming soon after we came in. We didn't even have time to run, so we killed all the way here. Zheng Tong led the way. Ah, well, we've met almost 2,000 Ming Jun, but we're out of danger. After receiving the order, we've come in again. Commander, are you going out now? Lin Zhongquan asked. Come in when you're out of danger? When I sent the message, I thought you were trapped in the fog. This mission has failed. Let's go out and fight together. Let's hope to save a few Taoist friends. Zheng Tongling said in a low voice, his face very ugly. Between the words, he didn't stop in his hand. He kept recovering his sword and attacked with several powerful Ming kings. Encounter 2,000 Ming Jun, unexpectedly a casualty, all have no? Suddenly, he thought of what Lin Zhongquan said. He was surprised, but he didn't take it seriously. He just thought it was Lin Zhongquan's excuse for being late. Ka! Ka! Click! The Dark King is stacked one after another, separating the friars of the first-level mission camp and fighting for each other. Between Zheng Tongling and Ming Jun's attack and defense, he suddenly found a figure. Among the numerous Ming Jun, he cut down dozens of Ming Jun one after another and rescued more than 10 monks. This person, Commander Zhang, saw clearly that he was the monk who had just been sent from the Earth Star. His accomplishments were only Yi Tian in the middle of Longmen realm. So strong? Zheng Tongling glanced at Yi Tian as he confronted the enemy. Many Ming Jun had no enemy of his sword. They were just like destroying the dead. The surrounding meditation gradually decreased, and the bones were everywhere. What's more, some of the friars in the fifth team didn't kill the enemy. Instead, they kept picking up the storage materials and bones after a day. A moment later, Yi Tian dealt with a large number of Ming Jun like a fallen leaf. The rest of Mingxiu were frightened by his momentum and scattered around. Well, you can go out. Yi Tian glanced at the monks on the scene. It seemed that there were less than 200 people, of which the fifth team accounted for 50. It can be seen how seriously the other 9 teams were damaged. In particular, half of the 200 had injuries of varying degrees. Everyone, follow Yi Daoyu to break through. Commander Zhang made a quick decision. Follow me. Yi Tian is not polite and chooses a direction to move forward quickly. These friars are not blind. Yi Tian's fighting power is obvious to all. Without waiting for Zheng Tongling to speak again, we have followed Yi Tian. Although there are still a lot of remaining meditation in the dark fog, it seems that Yi Tian has been lucky all the time. He has not met a large number of Emperor Ming. At least that's what the monks who were rescued thought. Only the friars of the fifth team knew that it was Yi Tian who successfully avoided the massive meditation. Finally, all the people were successfully brought out of the dark fog by Yi Tian. At this time, Commander Zhang asked all the teams to count the number of people. The third and fourth teams were destroyed. In addition to 5 teams without any loss, the other 7 teams survived a total of 113 people. What's more, most of them survived with injuries. Looking at the neat 51 people in the fifth team, and even the people with a little injury, Zheng Commander's eyes fell on Yi Tian. Yi Daoyu and the fifth team made great contributions to the success of the army. Individual and group credit is theirs. Do you have any opinion? No problem, thank you for your help. Everyone began to speak. This time can live out of the fog is lucky. how can they fight for merit? It doesn't matter whether to reward or not. Yi Tian doesn't care either. As long as this action is a task, then he can practice at ease. Let's go back to Fengyun City. Commander Zhang looked around at the monks with a solemn and stirring look on his face. He finally sighed, waved, and left. At this time, the messenger in his arms issued a voice. The second-level mission camp in Jindan is trapped in the underworld stronghold. Please rescue the first-level mission camp in Longmen. Commander Zhang's body was stifled, and his face was hesitant. Jindanjing trapped, let Longmen Jing rescue? In that case, it's different from death. However, it's an order from the city lord's office. They have no right to refuse to carry out it. Whenever a task is received in succession, the second one can be counted as the next month's task. It is not without benefits. But the dangers of this mission are obvious. Almost impossible task. But the task of the city lord's office can never be refused. Why don't you do that? I'll go to rescue the Jindan mission camp first. Zheng Tong is wearing a tie. Don't go deep in the stronghold. You protect yourself, I save people. At this time, Yi Tian suddenly opened his mouth, with a flash of body shape, has entered the dark fog. The Chinese friars who stayed in the fog overseas looked at each other, and they all felt very shameful. One of the friars present was one. The realm of each friar was higher than that of Yi Tian. However, in terms of combat effectiveness, no one can match Yi Tian. In the dark fog, Yi Tian's protection is needed. For these people, they feel a shame. Enter the dark fog, don't go too deep. I feel that we have become a burden to Yi Tian now. I hope he can retreat all over the body. Zheng Tongling's voice was low and he was helpless. There are scattered bones all over the fog sea. The trace of the fight is still visible. Yi Tian, alone, shuttles quickly through the dark fog. The fierce sword in his hand devours the resentment in the dark fog crazily. From time to time there was a buzzing vibration. 10 minutes later, his speed slowed down. A picture in front of him has been transmitted to his mind through the heartworm. 8 friars were besieged by more than 30 powerful skeletons, each of which was nearly zhang tall and had a strong breath. Pluto. Yi Tian immediately had a judgment from the breath, and the 8 friars, he also saw, was his rescue target. When he entered the Sea of Fog, Yi Tian met them, the friars of the second-level mission camp of Jindan realm. Get out of the way, will the monks in Longmen come to die? A nun in Jindan kingdom was surprised to see someone coming. After feeling Yi Tian's state, she cheered. Yi Tian did not say anything. His body flashed like a wisp of wind, and he had entered the encirclement of the skull. Lei Shu. He gave a big drink, and 3 thunderbolts appeared out of thin air and went down. Thunder is not straight down, but twisted in the air, drilled into the gap of the underworld's bones, and exploded inside, directly bombarding the underworld's soul. Although the underworld's appendage is strong, the soul itself is weak. Yi Tian's perception of thunder attribute has reached the peak. He not only has superb attack skills, but also is extremely strong in terms of power. 3 thunders directly killed the souls of the 3 Hades, and the 3 bones fell to the ground with a bang. And almost at the same time, Yi Tian's figure drifted, and he avoided the attack of Liuqi Road. Thunder comes again. Wherever Yi Tian goes, 2 more thunders are sent out to attack the nearest 2 Hades. The underworld has already known Yi Tian's power, and his body is like an electric beam to escape. The encirclement opens several gaps in a moment. Fellow Taoists, why don't you go now? Yi Tian sees his hand twice and successfully pulls open the encirclement. He immediately shouts at those golden elixir friars. And you? Several of them asked at the same time. If you can get out, I'll get out. In Yi Tian's hand, the thunder comes out again, and he can't breathe in the air, just as he chooses people to bite. Well, I owe you a favor today. Take care of yourself. One of the leading friars hugged Yi Tian. Unfortunately, in this instant, the underworld's encirclement closed again, once again blocking the retreat of the monks. The 8 friars in the golden elixir realm used their own means, but they could only make a situation of self-protection, but they could not pry a gap in the encirclement. Everybody, open the gap and leave quickly. Tian, after dodging several terrorist attacks from Pluto, shouts out loud, and then floats to several Pluto like a light wind. At the same time, several thunderbolts appear out of thin air, hovering and dancing in the sky, like Thunder Phoenix, which is extremely light and strange. What Ningxiu was afraid of most was the power of thunder. If they saw strange thunder for the first time, those thunder would be like the wind all over the place. They could get into the crack of the skeleton at any time, and then kill them. Fear is the biggest killer. When the thunder drifted in a strange direction, the several Hades on the opposite side did not dare to resist. They quickly flashed to the side and let out a gap. Boom! Once again, a few thunder appeared out of thin air, and seemed to circle around Tian without any target. However, the attacks from Hades were all defeated by Tian's erratic and strange posture. 8 friars at this time no longer neglect, the figure flashed out from the gap opened by Tian. Doubt you can evacuate. I'll see you outside. The friar's leader said in a loud voice, led the people to leave here, and quickly flew to the fog overseas. There is a flash of Hades' white shadow to stop, but Tian's strange thunder flies to that side, scared to one side. At this time, Tian's control of the thunder has 6, then around him 2 or 3 feet fly, protect Tian in the middle. Those thunders were like ghost fire, and Tian's figure was always erratic. Everywhere he passed, there were a lot of bone spears and bone swords. After 10 minutes of delay, Tian saw that the 8 golden elixirs had gone out of sight. He reached out to lead the thunder and protect the back road. He was also ready to run. But at this time, a few angry howls sounded, and a Hades issued a hoarse voice, change the body, this repair can't stay. Flash? Just about to leave the leaf day, body shape a stagnation, speed slowed down. In his sight, the underworld took out the body of a monk as he expected, and then the dark shadow attached to the body, collected the bones and tarsals on the ground, and killed Tian again. Tian had already observed with Yuan Tian eye at this time, and there was the same purple and gold rune pattern in those heads with body and bone. Is as like as 2 peas in the north of the earth? Tian's heart moves and flies to the distance. However, he doesn't let go of full speed, because those Hades haven't completely replaced their flesh and bones. Tian's heart is cold. Do you think that if you replace the body and bones, you won't be afraid of the power of thunder? Don't you know that Lao Tzu has a sharp weapon to restrain the attachment of flesh and bones? After deliberately delaying a few breaths, we can see that all the demons have been replaced with their tarsals, and they have quickly gathered here one after another. For the underworld, the skeleton-attached bone is more powerful than the flesh-attached bone, because the skeleton-attached bone has reached the strength of magic weapon level through the practice of the underworld, and has many magical effects. From this point of view, the body with bones is much worse. However, the weakness of the skeleton-attached bones is that the protection of the body is not strict enough, which makes the soul of the ghost in the skeleton-attached bones get a great threat and damage and cannot stay for a long time. Although the body bone is much weaker, it can get out of the fog. It is much more convenient outside than the skeleton bone. But this time, the situation is a little special. Tian's Lei Shu Taoist art is so powerful that he uses the weakness of the bones and skeletons to attack the soul itself, so that when he is in the fog, the underworld can't replace them with flesh and bones. At this time, when they slowly catch up with Tianji, they don't know that Tianji is waiting for them. A kind of Pluto has turned into a friar with various appearances. When he is about to surround Tian quietly takes out his mask. Boom! 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 When Tian took out the mask, there were many flashes of white thunder and lightning on the mask, shooting at the surrounding monks. To be exact, it's the kind of thunder that can't be seen with the naked eye and can only be observed with the source eye. Suddenly, it connects with those mending heads, and then there is a roaring sound. All the flesh tarsals around were almost exploded on the spot. The sound was deafening. When the sound rang out, Tian had been flying out of the scope of the explosion. He was watching the magnificent scene. The shocking explosion soon ended, the scene of flesh and blood flying all over the sky gradually settled down, and the crazy rolling and surging fog gradually calmed down. Tian came to the scene of the explosion with a flash of his figure. His gestures kept moving, and he put away the Shumi commandment worn by the body and bones from the broken bones. 6 or 7 minutes later, Tian left here and flew out of the fog. Outside the dark fog, many friars are staring nervously at the sea of fog. All the friars were very nervous, especially the friars of the 15 where Tian was. The rest of the friars were members of the second-level mission camp of Jindanjing and other mission camps under Zheng Tongling. I'm afraid Yi Daoyu is more dangerous than lucky. A monk with a short beard said anxiously that he was Huaqing, the commander of the second-level task battalion of Jindan Kingdom. I don't think so. Although Yi Daoyu's realm is ordinary, he has many means and is extremely powerful. If he doesn't have absolute assurance, he won't take such risks. Zheng Tongling Zhang Xiu looked at the mist and said thoughtfully. Other people are also talking in a low voice, and the focus of the conversation is worried about Yi Tian's safety. However, many people are not optimistic. After all, they heard that more than 30 Hades besieged Yi Tian together. When people were talking, suddenly a figure in the dark fog flew to this side quickly. When I saw this familiar figure, the friars gathered around. Yi Daoyu, you are back safely. Huaqing said first. Yes, Yi Daoyu escaped from many Hades. Congratulations, Zheng Xiu then said. Thank you for your concern. Yi Tianchao nodded slightly and bowed to each other. Huaqing quickly returned the salute and said, Yi Daoyu is not worthy of it. If you didn't step forward, I'm afraid we'd all be in danger. It's a pity that this mission has not been completed, and so many Taoist friends have died. With a gesture, Yi Tian took out 3 Shumi commandments. 2 of them were given to Zheng Xiu, and the other one to Huaqing. I think the task should be completed. 2 Taoist friends will know when they have a look. Huaqing looks at Yi Tian by accident, takes Sumi Jia, marks his mind and probes into it. Soon, Xinyan withdrew and nodded to Yi Tian. Thank you, Yi Daoyu, for retrieving the corpses of our team members. Don't be polite, Daoyu. I happened to see it and should have returned it. Yi Tian nodded and replied that there were 13 bones in Shumi Jia, all of which had met him at one time. Yi Tian saw them at a glance when he first entered the sea of fog. These things need to be cured? Huaqing looked at Yi Tian and hesitated. Yi Tian gave him 13 corpses, but the Shumi commandment on his fingers is still there. But according to the rules, since these friars have been killed by the underworld, Yi Tian takes back the spoils from the underworld. In addition to the mission objectives, it is customary for individuals to own what they get on the way to completing the mission. But now, Yi Tian didn't move those Shumi precepts, which made Huaqing look up at Yi Tian. In the same way, the corpses of these 2 groups are in Shumi Jia, which Yi Tian handed over to Zheng Xiu. One group is the dead comrades of Longmen first-level mission camp. These people are with Yi Tian, but they enter the dark fog from other directions. Yi Tian, another monk in Shumi commandment, is very strange. He infers that he must be the target of this time. He was taken into the store by the underworld. In the same way, Yi Tian didn't move his Shumi commandment. Once upon a time in Jinji and Yuye, Yi Tian saw how poor a monk in Jindanjing was, and how happy he was for a piece of fairy jade. As for the monks in Longmen, Yi Tian did not report that he had too much hope. On the contrary, he is a newcomer, and it will be very good for him to have the opportunity to make friends with these people in the future. He has just handed over these Shumi precepts to the past. Thank you, Yi Daoyu. These dead Daoyu also have some relatives in Wanyu League. It's a great merit for Daoyu to bring back their bodies and relics. I believe they will be grateful to you, or they will be doomed if they are made into bones by meditation. Zheng Xiu said in a sad voice. It's easy to do. Zheng Tongling doesn't have to be polite. Yi Tian gently shakes his head and says that no one will be in a good mood on this occasion. He will perform the task together, but some people have become corpses. Can you ask Yi Daoyu where he got these bodies? Huaqing thought and asked. Why? Yi Tian's voice calmly replied, the 32 Hades were killed by me. Did you find the Shumi commandment in their storage bones? Look at it and you will see the corpse. What? Have you killed all 32 Hades? Huaqing screamed at that time. In a flash, he felt like a dream. His first reaction was that it was impossible. How is that possible? 32 Hades, not 1 or 2. The fighting power of more than 30 Hades is very strong. These monks in the golden elixir are very clear. He knew that Yi Tian's body method reached its peak, and he could be invincible in front of those Hades. You can also kill several Hades with the help of Lei Shu's Taoism. However, these are not enough. It's okay at the beginning, but as time goes on, Pluto will be on guard. The effect of this method will be greatly reduced. Moreover, how long did they just leave Yi Tian Kai? How could Yi Tian kill 32 Hades in such a short time? Not only he didn't believe it, but also the other friars. Yi Daoyu, really? If you really kill more than 30 Hades, you're going to make a fortune. Zheng Xiu came over and said in awe. Yi Tian wanted this effect, so he didn't hide his achievements. The underworld is equivalent to the golden elixir realm of human friars. If he can kill more than 30 underworld equivalent to the golden elixir realm in a flash, his strength should be enough to make some people feel odd. As a result, there may be a lot less trouble. In fact, the effect he wanted has been achieved. Originally, in the eyes of the monks, he was already a strong abnormal alternative. Now, after the killing of Pluto, his strength has been promoted to a new height in the eyes of all people. According to the regulations of the City Lord's mansion, the loot seized by the Demon Clan or the Underworld Clan can be recycled, given to Xinyu or other things, and then offered according to their own needs and exchanged. Zheng Xiu explained, the bones of the underworld alone can replace a lot of fairy jade. If there is something else in the store attachment, you will definitely get a huge harvest this time. Yi Tian heard the meaning of envy from his voice, then said with a smile, if you really get the reward, naturally you can't miss the commander's share. No. Zheng Xiu waved his hand in a hurry. Yi Daoyu, Zheng definitely doesn't mean that. If you can save us several times, it's a big debt to you. How can I accept the gift from Daoyu? I just envy Daoyu. With such profound strength, he will soar to the sky in the future. Maybe he can join the ranks of great monks. Haha, it's all going to happen in the future. If there's nothing else, please tell me more about it. What's the exchange law? Yi Tian gently waved his hand and said that the great monk was nothing. He was a great monk in his previous life. In this life, as long as time is enough, there is absolutely no suspense to enter the Jade Park. Moreover, it will definitely take much less time than in the last life. Well, there's no problem. It's not a secret. Let's talk while walking. Zheng Xiu nodded slightly and said, in fact, to exchange these things, you don't have to exchange them in Fengmune City. In some big cities, you can choose a lot of resources and increase the price. Since this is the case, I'll try my luck in the big city. After walking with Zheng Xiu, Hu Cheng and others for more than half an hour, Yi Tian asked about what he wanted to know and left. In a rare mountain in the Terran area, Yi Tian landed on the ground and walked through the dense forest for a moment. After confirming that there were no other friars nearby, he immediately launched the earth into the underground. After entering the time and space tower, he greets Qin Luo God in ear, and Yi Tian begins to count what he got from the underworld stronghold this time. After an inventory, Yi Tian is slightly disappointed. The infertile level of the underworld here is far beyond his imagination. On Earth, Yi Tian killed an underworld in the Devil's Cave in northern Xinjiang. Although the things inside are limited, the amount of black jade is amazing. In addition to some magic weapons such as bone gun and bone knife, there are very limited things in the storage of the underworld. Even the purple and gold rune patterns are single digits. That kind of black jade, Yi Tian searched all the storage accessory bones, only found a mere 20 pieces, but those accessory bones seem to be more valuable. To see if there is anything missing, Yi Tian sorts out those things and leaves the spacetime tower. More than 3 hours later, Yi Tian came to a big city that looked like a crouching ancient beast. This city is called Castle Peak City, which is enough to rank in the top 10 of the Terran cities. Castle Peak City is forbidden to fly into the city. You need to check your identity in front of the city gate. You can enter the city only after the check is correct. Yi Tian does as the Romans do, and naturally is no exception. He falls to the ground in front of the gate, and then queues up for inspection. The monk of his realm is absolutely the pinnacle of existence on the earth, but it is very common here. With the identity token of Jackie Chan's 1st Battalion, Tian successfully passed the identity test and was able to enter the city. The rule of Castle Peak City is that after passing the identity test, except for a few restricted areas, the rest of the city can fly at will. Tian didn't fly around the city. Instead, he walked around the city, feeling the local conditions and customs here, and observing all kinds of friars in a hurry. By chance, I can see many friars flying from the sky like meteors to all parts of the city. Tian spent a lot of time walking all the way to the meritorious hall in the city lord's mansion. This is a place where the treasures collected from the demons, the underworld and the orcs can be exchanged for the cultivation resources of monks. The Hall of Meritorious Service is a tall building, all of which are made of bluestone. There are 3 halls, corresponding to the demon, the underworld and the ORC. When Tian arrived, every hall was full of people, even outside the Hall of Meritorious Service. After a quick count, there are more than 100 monks in front of the hall. The number of people in the Hall of Warcraft and Orc is about the same. Simply, Tian started to line up in the front row of the Hall of the Underworld, and at the same time released his mind to observe the exchange situation in front of him. As he was observing, he suddenly saw a bearded middle-aged friar coming not far in front of him and pointing to a young friar in line. The young friar took a look at the visitor and stepped back bitterly. Friar Bearded swaggered to the position of the young friar and began to wait quietly. "What's the situation? Can we add more?" Tian frowned and asked a friar in front of him. "Is this Taoist friend a newcomer to the spiritual realm of Dahuang? This is very common in the great wilderness spiritual realm. Whoever has high accomplishments can be at the top at will. If he doesn't agree, he can fight back." The great wilderness spiritual realm encourages this kind of practice, which is called inspirational. If anyone thinks it's unfair, he can practice hard and improve his realm. The friar in front said with a smile. It seems that he is used to this kind of situation. Tian noticed that the level of the friars in the queue was the lowest, only the middle level of the Longmen realm. The friars in front of him had a higher level, but they were only the highest level of the Longmen realm. Further on, most of them are the friars in the Golden Elixir realm. The one who just jumped the queue was the friars in the middle of the Golden Elixir realm. The one who was pushed behind was also the friars in the Golden Elixir realm, but only the friars in the early stage of the Golden Elixir realm. Tian is a little upset, but he is not too bad when he thinks about it. Besides, he is still cultivating in the Golden Elixir realm. Although he has various means, he should not expose too much. Even in the underworld stronghold, he didn't even use a spirit bug in order to save his strength. However, soon his brow frowned more tightly, and several people cut in front of him one after another, so he naturally ranked back a few. Moreover, he found that the friars at the front of the exchange were very slow, and they had to communicate with the friars in charge of the Meritorious Service Hall for a long time to determine the exchange resources. At this speed, it's hard to say when it's my turn. As if sensing Tian's look, the friar in front of him turned back and gave a wry smile. "Taoist friends, don't be impatient. Now the friars who can make achievements in the demons, the underworld and the orcs are all high-level friars. Therefore, the friars who come to the Meritorious Hall to exchange are basically the friars in the Golden Elixir. There are few monks like you and me in Longmen. I've been here for 2 days and 1 night. It's a pity to quit now. But in this case, there is no other way. Who can make the realm inferior to people and the strength inferior to people? 2 days and 1 night? Tian is stunned and thinks that he is still arranging hair here. If he presses this speed, he will not be able to arrange hair for another 2 days and 1 night. Just as I was thinking about it, a group of friars flew over from a distance. There were about 30 people, some of them went to the Hall of the Demons, and a dozen of them came to the side of the Underworld team. They looked at each other and found a place to insert them. Those friars who were cut in line were all forced to give up their position, because they were sure of the goal of cutting in line, and no one would ask for nothing if they were not sure. Tian Gang wants to go out to find a target to challenge. Suddenly, a white-skinned monk comes to him, hooks his finger to him and points back. Awareness is obvious. Tian is a crooked head, eyebrows fine-tuning to ask, "What do you do? What are you doing?" You know what? You mean to challenge me. Are you sure you won't give up this position?" The friar said coldly. "It's okay to challenge you, but I didn't want to challenge you. Now that you've come by yourself, I'll help you." Tian sneered. "Well, anyway, it's also the last Taoist friend in the middle of Longmen, come with me." The friar pointed to a nearby open space and took the lead. Tian followed him without hesitation. He guessed that this should be the place for the monks to challenge, because as soon as the two men passed, a monk from the meritorious service hall immediately came out to preside over the challenge. Both sides are willing to challenge, fair and just, and responsible for death and injury. The abbot of the golden elixir said without expression. He had said it countless times, and it was very smooth. "Master, are there any restrictions on this kind of challenge, such as powerful magic weapon, powerful spirit pet?" Tian doesn't know the way inside, so he has to ask in advance. "Except that you can't ask other monks to help you with boxing, any means can be used. Any means is part of your strength. However, don't think that some means will win. First of all, I would like to advise this monk to think twice. You have means. Maybe others have better means than you." That friar lightly swept Leaf Day one eye, the vision sweeps on his spirit beast ring but pass, don't have any expression ground to say. "Thank you, master. Now that I'm standing here, I have no face to go back. If there are no other questions, can we start?" Tian said indifferently. "Of course, we can start right away. Remember, death and injury are your own responsibility. Sign the life and death order first, in case of any other situation." The friar took out a wooden card and gave it to the white-faced friar. The friar used his fingers to carve on it and wrote down his name, Xing Shang. Tian then took the card, fingers in the card gently tick a few times, above will appear very good-looking two words Tian. The handwriting is neat and clean, as if it were carved with a knife. Judging from the impression, it is much more exquisite than Xing Shang's. "Well, Tian, I know from your name that you don't know the greatness of heaven and earth. If it's too late to quit now, otherwise I'm afraid that if I don't control it well, I may hurt you." Xing Shang glared at Tian and said with some conceit. As he spoke, a short gun suddenly appeared in his hand. It was silver and dazzling. At first sight, it was not an ordinary magic weapon. Needless to say, Tian looks at Xing Shang with disapproval, and his eyes sweep over the short gun, and his right fist is raised slowly. "You fight my gun with your fist? Are you sure you're not here to die? Do you think that if you lose like this, you will have some face?" Xing Shang sneered. "Think what you like." Tian didn't want to talk with him anymore. He stepped forward. His right fist, with the wind blowing, turned into several boxing shadows and went straight to Xing Shang. A small skill of carving insects. Xing Shang snorts coldly. The short gun turns into a silver light and stabs Tian's fist. One is meat fist, the other is magic weapon. If you collide twice, you can guess the result. Just when everyone thought that Tian would avoid the shot, Tian's fists remained unchanged, and he banged with the tip of the gun. Whoosh! With a sound, Xing Shang's short gun was directly hit by Tian's unparalleled blow. The powerful aftereffect of the silver gun was shot at a blue stone wall in the distance. With a bang, the blue stone collapsed. The stone wall, which looked very strong, collapsed for several feet in an instant, splashing a lot of smoke and dust underground. Looking at Xing Shang, his right hand was dripping with blood, and his whole right arm was straight down. It seemed that he was seriously injured. The whole hall of meritorious service was silent at first, and the needle could be heard. Then there was a sound of inspiration, and everyone's eyes fell on Tian, and finally on his right hand. Such a strong impact, but also with the meat fist on the magic weapon, Tian's right hand is no trace of collision, let alone bleeding, even the color has not changed. What a powerful fist. I can't see that this man is an individual. Someone is talking softly. Yes, it seems that the right fist should have been tempered with some natural materials and local treasures, otherwise it will never be hard to connect the magic weapon, and it is still the middle stage of Longmen Realm to the later stage of Longmen Realm. People nearby are also analyzing it. Not only the underworld team is paying attention to the fight, but also the monks of the demon and orc teams are looking at it with great interest. In the board queue, this fight is undoubtedly a seasoning to kill time in their eyes. Unfortunately, they all guessed the beginning, but not the end. How's it going? Give up? If you don't agree, why don't you come again? Yi Tian's figure is as steady as Mount Tai. He looks at Xing Sheng calmly and says. Xing Sheng has used his magic power to stop the blood on his hand at this time, and his face is even more red. In the face of Yi Tian's sharp words, he doesn't know what to say for a moment. However, although it's in the middle of Longmen, I still have some ability. If it wasn't for my current position, I'd like to challenge it, or I'd like to teach you that the criminal family isn't nobody. In the queue, a friar with short beard, who was the seventh in the queue, suddenly said, with a gloomy look in his eyes. Jin Danjing later stage. Yi Tian took a look at this man, and from what he said, he naturally recognized that the friar in the late Golden Elixir realm must be from the same family as Xing Shang. Is a monk in the late Jindan realm a threat to a monk in the middle Longmen realm? Yi Tian looks down on this person. In fact, it's the same everywhere. The strong always bully the weak. Although there is a superficial harmony between the human friars, there is competition in the distribution of resources, in the face of interests, and in the face of status. Since there is competition, there are also contradictions. Only under the strong suppression of Wanyu League, this kind of contradiction only exists within a certain range, and there is no big outbreak, and it has not caused too heavy consequences. Maybe, it broke out, but it's not known. The late Jindan realm, right? Yi Tian came to the man step by step. After standing still, he said calmly, since you want to teach me Yi Tian, and you don't want to give up your present position, I will help you and challenge your position. In this case, are you happy to teach me a lesson? Besides, don't worry about people saying that you are relying on the strong and bullying the weak. As soon as the voice fell, there were boos all around. Here has become the focus of the whole meritorious hall, all eyes stay here. In the middle of Longmen realm, we challenge the later of Jindan realm, but it never happens in the wild spiritual realm where there are so many miracles. This is almost the rhythm of death. But it happened today, and someone came to die. The monk with short beard looks a little ugly. There is nothing else. As a late monk in Jindan realm, being challenged by the mid-monk in Longmen realm is a very humiliating thing in itself. He stepped out, looked at Yi Tian and said, since you come to seek death, and I will help you. Xingtian, good name. I'll take a word from heaven. This way, please. Yi Tian's eyes are indifferent. After that, he turns back to the open space. Xing Tian's face is gloomy and follows him. He takes the wooden card from the monk of the meritorious service hall, carves his name, and then throws it to Yi Tian. Yi Tian didn't pick up the card, but when it was flying, he made a few strokes with his strength. Then with a wave of his sleeve, the card flew back to the hands of the friars of the meritorious service hall. People's eyes fell on the wooden plate, to see Xingtian next to the word, neatly engraved with the name of Yi Tian, even with the name carved before no different. The same font, the same as the knife. This time, everyone's eyes to Yi Tian are different. In this case, most monks can carve characters in the air, but what they can do is to carve traces. Few people can carve such exquisite handwriting. I'm afraid it's not just physical training. This kind of control ability, the use of mana has reached the level of perfection, otherwise a person's cultivation is absolutely difficult to achieve. Someone began to whisper. It's not only the use of magic power, but also the perfection of 5 elements Taoism. You see, the board flies without the influence of mana. This is the use of wind and earth attributes. The neat lettering is the use of wood attributes and metal attributes. The board flies smoothly. For example, the boat-shaped water should have the use of water attributes. It's not easy. Next to it, someone gave a detailed analysis. So it is, others echoed. In this fight, I'll take charge of Yi Tianqing and pay 5 for 1, and I'll pay 10 for 1. Before the contest started, a fat middle-aged friar came out of the hall of meritorious service. Before he appeared, his voice had come out. Master Lu, we have to take a bet. I'll win the penalty, 1,000 immortals. Immediately, a monk of Jindanjing walked out of the queue, took out a storage bag from Shumi Commandment and threw it to the leader of Lu Hall. I also gave 1,000 immortal jade, and the Taoist friend in custody one. Another monk also threw out the storage bag. I'll detain my Taoist friend 3,000 immortals. I'll detain Taoist friends for 1,500 pieces of fairy jade. I bet. In succession, more than 20 people took part in the gamble, but without exception, they all won. It's no wonder that even if they think that Yi Tian's Taoism is extraordinary and his body is extremely strong, there is still a gap between the two realms. There is still a big gap between them. It's like a child with excellent knife skills fighting with a man with a shoulder pole. It's clear who wins and who loses. Moreover, Xingtian was a powerful existence in the later period of Jindan realm, not an ordinary man. In that case, I'll bet my 10,000 xianyu to win. Master Lu, it's not the younger generation who wants to beat you, Qiufeng. Since so many Taoist friends want to take advantage of you, I'm not the only one. And we all know that Master Lu is rich in wealth, haha. At this time, Xingtian also took out a storage bag and threw it to the master of Lu Hall. It's all right. I'd like to admit defeat. Just rest assured. Hall leader Lu was kind-hearted and didn't care. Instead, he looked at the rest of the monks who didn't bet. I bet Yi Tianqing 10 immortals. Finally, a friar bet Yi Tian victory. This time he did not take the storage bag, but directly took out 10 pieces of fairy jade. Brother Meng, you're floating in the water. How can you bet that monk in the middle of Longmen realm to win? A friar nearby said. The friar also said, you Taoist friend, don't you see that the elder Lu looks like he has the chance to win? His old man is a monk of Yuanyingjing. He may have seen what we can't see. Otherwise, with his shrewdness, how can he do business at a loss? It makes sense, but have you ever heard that the middle stage of Longmen is better than the later stage of Jindan? The friar surnamed Yu pondered. I haven't heard of that, but if you have 10 pieces of fairy jade, you can't make a big loss anyway. The friar gritted his teeth and said that he seemed to have a problem with his guess. After all, there is no precedent for the friars in the middle of Longmen realm to surpass those in the later of Jindan realm. It's true that one monk in the late Jindan kingdom beat 100 monks in the middle Longmen kingdom. Master Lu, I'll bet 20,000 xianyu and win by myself. At this time, Yi Tian also threw out his storage bag. The number of 100,000 xianyu was determined by the bet he had just bet on Xingtian. There were about 100,000 xianyu. When he won, 5 for 1, it was just 100,000. No matter how much, if Yi Tian didn't bet, it would be like collecting money from the leader of Lu Hall. He can't do this kind of thing. Good, it's big enough. Hall leader Lu didn't like it at all, and he took it with a smile. However, all the onlookers were surprised. You know, in the field of wilderness, how precious is the immortal jade. Monks who have thousands of immortal jade in their hands are already very rich. It's still necessary to keep on doing tasks, and there are a lot of gains in the tasks, which can be accumulated over time. The monk in the middle of Longmen realm, however, was able to make 20,000 immortals at a time, which was not comparable to other monks. You know, Jinji and Yuya, the two monks of Jindan realm, have very little wealth, mainly because they don't get much in the task, so they are short of money. However, some people can't understand it now, especially some people pay special attention to the expression of Lord Lu, and there is no other change. Everyone knows that if Xingtian wins, Elder Lu will make a net profit of 10,000 xianyu. This is not a small amount. If Yi Tian wins, Lu Changlao is equal. There should be no problem with Lu Changlao's expression. But how could he have an indifferent expression when he won the previous sentence? I'll win the penalty, 200 immortals. I'll win the penalty, 300 immortals. Some people don't know how to decide and continue to bet. It's obvious that their wealth is not rich, so the number of bets is not comparable with those of the previous monks. In this case, the old one of Lu always took over. If you reach this level of cultivation, you don't need to take notes. Naturally, you will never forget it, and you won't worry about any mistakes. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a word. Today's gambling is very special. One is the midterm monk in Longmen realm, and the other is the late monk in Jindan realm. Originally, the forces are extremely unequal, so the challenge rules also need to be slightly changed. I'm just making a suggestion. It's up to both sides to decide whether it's okay or not. Look at those two friars. No one will continue to bet after they bet, said the master of Lu Hall. Master Lu, please speak up. Hearing that Master Lu mentioned himself, Xing Tian nodded slightly. Yi Tian also said in a calm voice, "It doesn't matter if Lu Chang is old." Lu said with a smile, "Since there is such a big difference in strength, let's decide the outcome with 3 moves. Each side can only fight 3 times. If the number of the 3 passes and there is no division, how about a draw?" This remark made people dumbfounded. I've seen shameless, but I've never seen such shameless. Obviously, the implication of Lord Lu is that if a draw is made, he will take all. He will take Yi Tianqing as his pawn, and he will take Tianqing as his punishment. Originally, he is not optimistic about Yi Tian's winning, but he is optimistic about Yi Tian's ability to resist Xing Tian's attack. I'm just a suggestion. If Xing Tian thinks that he can't win Yi Tian in 3 moves, I can't take it. See everyone so facial expression, Lu Hall Lord Skin smile me don't smile ground say. This sentence is extremely heartbreaking. Xing Tian's face changed when he heard that he was in the later stage of the Golden Elixir realm. If he could not defeat the friars in the middle stage of the Longmen realm in 1 move, it would be a shame for the friars in the Golden Elixir realm. Not to mention that Master Lu limited his moves to 3 moves. If he couldn't win the 3 moves, he would have nothing to say. I don't have any opinions. 3 moves are enough for me. If I can't use them, 1 move will do. Xing Tian said haughtily. Yi Tian also nodded, I have no opinion. Well, since both sides have no objection, the contest can begin. Lu Changlao seems to have expected such a result. He said without hesitation. Yi Tian, today you will pay for your arrogance. Hearing the words, Xing Tian snorted coldly, and his momentum burst out suddenly. A black dragon transformed into mana suddenly sent out. He waved his tail in the air and reached Yi Tian in a moment. Xing Daoyou's dragon killing is really extraordinary. Even I guess I have to give up. Among the onlookers, some friars were whispering, obviously highly praising the attack of Xing Tian. However, before he finished his words, he suddenly looked suffocated and opened his eyes wide. It was hard to believe that what happened in front of him was true. The black dragon, which was transformed into magic power, attacked Yi Tian with a terrifying momentum. Yi Tian suddenly disappeared from the original place. When he reappeared, he had already attacked Xing Tian with his extremely terrifying fist. Boom! A distance of the sound, Xing Tian seems to have no defense, will appear so strange situation, unexpectedly no response to be Ichuan in front of the chest. The body shape of Xing Tian is uncontrollable, and it flies more than 10 meters by Yi Tian's fist. The body shape flies rapidly in the air for a long distance before it falls to the ground. At this time, he covered his chest with his left hand, and there was blood oozing from the corner of his mouth. Unexpectedly, he was seriously injured. But his face was white and full of shock. How's it going? Xing Daoyu, Yi has been lenient. If you don't like it, you can go on. Yi Tian walked slowly to Xing Tian and said calmly, as if he didn't have the appearance of the late monk in Jindan realm. Xing Tian's lips trembled a few times, and finally shook his head and said, since Xing has lost a move, then admit defeat. I don't think it's necessary to fight. With that, he left the Hall of Meritorious Service without looking back. But no one saw that when he came to a corner not far away from the Hall of Meritorious Service, he suddenly straightened up and couldn't help a mouthful of blood gushing out of his mouth. He looked very miserable. At this time, his injury really broke out. Just now in the Hall of Meritorious Service, he just came here with the blood in his mouth. Looking back at the direction of the Hall of Meritorious Service, Xing Tian's eyes showed a strong color of fear. After a while, he turned and left, looking for a place to heal. At this time, the Hall of Meritorious Service was silent, and all the people present were experts in cultivation. They naturally took their place in the hall just now. If that blow at that time, Yi Tian was attacking himself. He asked himself that he could avoid it. After repeated deduction, many people's faces show the color of horror, and the eyes looking at Yi Tian have changed. Is this really a midterm monk in Longmen? Almost everyone has such a question. Someone secretly sensed Yi Tian's breath, even his bone age. Yes, he was just over 20 years old. There is no limit to future achievements. Ha ha, good. Sure enough, the hero is young. Yi Tian, you have won this contest. At this time, the leader of Lu Hall preached with a smile on his face. As soon as Lord Lu announced the result of the contest, several cheers rang out in the crowd. Those are the friars who won the battle. The odds are 1 to 5. It's crazy. It's a pity that these friars didn't have much money and their income was very limited. Excited, I can't help sighing. There are countless ifs and hypotheses in my heart. However, we can only think about it. Everything has passed, and it doesn't help to regret less. These people are obviously not satisfied with the state of mind. Compared with those who win the day of imprisonment monks, they are lucky enough. The friars who won the battle of Xing Tian turned pale, and the gamble that had been so sure ended in such a result. And some of them even put up most, even all, of their savings. A gambling fight has come to such an end that it is out of reach now. Yi Tian, the only one who makes the most profit, is the most calm one. Bet 20,000 xianyu, get 100,000 xianyu compensation. After countless years of cultivation, the resources of the great wilderness spiritual realm are very scarce. Compared with the ordinary Yuanyingjing monks, 100,000 xianyu is a great wealth. But for Yi Tian, it's nothing. He took the storage bag from the leader of Lu Hall. He imprinted it on his mind. After a brief inspection, he found that there were about 120,000 xianyu with interest, and the number was not bad at all. Put away the storage bag, under the gaze of the people, Yi Tian went to the 7th place in the underworld queue, and waited in line calmly. However, he did not pay attention to the situation that other friars received the bet xianyu. But although in the team, Yi Tian can feel many eyes falling on him. Friars are very sensitive to this kind of gaze, especially Yi Tian now. However, he does not know that some friars are quietly talking. Even if you know, Yi Tian doesn't matter. Although it's only the midterm cultivation in Longmen realm, the battle just now shows that he can easily defeat the later monks in Jindan realm. Even if he met the monk of Yuanyingjing, he didn't want to waste the remaining 2 opportunities. Among the many monks queuing up in Jindan realm, Yi Tian, a monk in Longmen realm, is particularly eye-catching. Some of the friars in Jindanjing kept changing their faces, and some of them were thinking carefully. However, when they thought of Yi Tian Hongfei's brilliant blow, all their thoughts were gradually extinguished, and they were still in line behind. Looking at Yi Tian's back, there is a little more fear. Before long, the friar who ranked first had finished the exchange and left the Hall of Meritorious Service. Yi Tian's position has advanced one more. All of a sudden, a light of escape flashed across the sky and fell into the Hall of Meritorious Service, revealing the figure of the monk. This man is of medium build, not fat or thin, with a dark face. He has a dusty feeling and sharp eyes. As soon as he fell to the ground, he began to look at the long line. Of course, he didn't pay much attention to the situation behind him. He only looked at the first few. I haven't seen you for a long time. It seems that I have gained a lot? One of the friars who was the first to talk with the deacon of the Hall of Meritorious Service turned to say hello. It seemed that they were very familiar with each other. Kill Dao Yu, or you will be in the front row? The one behind Yeti Anshan thought that the friar also said hello. You're welcome. The friar, who was surnamed Mia, nodded slightly to him, said casually, then moved his eyes and looked ahead. Obviously, he didn't care for the position. He was a bit behind. When he saw Yi Tian in front of the line, the friar surnamed Mia's eyes flashed, then he moved his eyes and continued to look at others. Kill the Taoist friends, kill the Taoist friends. Those people in front seemed to know the friars of Nia's surname and nodded in succession. Some people even take the initiative to let this person go to the front. Forget it, I bully you every time. It's better to change this time. Who brought this monk from Longmen realm? The friar of Nia surname shook his head and pointed to Yi Tian. Haha, do I have to be brought by someone? Can't I come here by myself? Can't I get this position by myself? Yi Tian raised his eyelids and looked at the friar of Nia surname in front of him. This man is also a monk in the later stage of Jindan realm, but he feels that his strength is better than Xingtian. He should be close to the perfection of the later stage of Jindan realm. Although the monks in this realm are powerful, Yi Tian doesn't pay attention to them. Big talk? Can you get this position by yourself? The friar of Nia surname showed an obvious disbelief and looked up at the other friars in line. Kill Dao Yu. This Dao Yu is right. He is powerful. His original position is Xingtian Dao Yu. After being defeated by Yi Dao Yu, he has changed his master. A monk with a scar on his face said that he was not weak and ranked 4th in the team. When he speaks, he is very particular about words. Although Yi Tian is only a middle-term cultivation in Longmen, he is still a Taoist friend. Xingtian? This guy's got to this point? Was defeated by the monks in Longmen, the friar of Nia surname said in disbelief and looked at Yi Tian again. But see, Yi Tian besides grow more handsome, the figure is symmetrical, the temperament is not vulgar. It seems that there is no other special place, and the heart can't help but give birth to some doubts. He knows the cultivation of Xingtian, which is a little worse than himself, but it's also very limited. It's said that a monk in the late Jindan realm can't lose to a monk in the middle Longmen realm, which is absolutely something that never happened. What was the situation then? The friar with the surname Mia whispered to the friar who spoke just now. Xingtian's move failed. The friar's name was Yi Tian. He bet that he would win and win 100,000 yuan from Xianyu. The friar made a brief introduction. Xingtian failed, and Yi Tian won 100,000 yuan from Xianyu. The friar of Nia surname repeated the information in his heart, and gradually a smile appeared on his face. He seemed to have found the key to the problem. This is a bureau. Yi Tian and Xingtian jointly set up a bureau. Xingtian lost some fame, but he really gained huge profits. 100,000 immortal jade is enough to make countless monks in Jindan realm crazy in huge wealth. Well, since you have defeated Xingtian Dao Yu and are also a monk in Jindan realm, I will fight for justice for him. This time, I will challenge you. Do you dare to accept it? The friar of exterminating surname smoothed the matter, looking at Yi Tian to say so. Why not? If you don't accept it, you don't want to give up your position. If Nia Dao Yu has the courage to challenge, I will accept it. Yi Tian said indifferently, and then walked away from the queue to the broad bidu area. Wait a minute, since Yi Xiaoyu dares to fight, do you dare to make another bet? Let's gamble on 100,000 Xianyu, and the winner will get it. Nieba reaches out his hand and says to Yi Tian with words. I advise you to save your money. It's not easy to get Xianyu, so you'd better not waste it. Besides, 100,000 Xianyu are not painful. It's really meaningless. Yi Tian stops and smiles. The tone is not small. It's not a waste. It doesn't have much to do with Yi Xiaoyu. I only ask you if you dare to gamble. If you don't dare, how about we gamble on this position? Nieba showed disdain on his face and said with a sneer. Since Nia Dao Yu says so, Yi Tian will accompany you. Please gamble with Nia Dao Yu. Don't disgrace yourself with a mere 100,000 Xianyu. If you want to gamble, you can bet big. Yi Tianlu pondered and returned with a smile. Heroic spirit. Nieba gave a thumbs up. Just as you wish, you can bet more. Just wait a moment. With that, Nieba looked at the people in the queue and said in a loud voice, which Taoist friend is willing to lend me Xianyu? After the contest, the profit will be 30% and 30,000 Xianyu will return 10,000. Is this a good deal? There's no problem borrowing Xianyu, but what if Nia Dao Yu loses? What can I do for the return of capital and interest? A friar was quite excited, but then asked with some worry. Lose? Lin Dao Yu, do you think Nia Mou will lose? Nieba's face sank and he asked in an unhappy way. Friar Lin shook his head and laughed awkwardly. He said nothing more. He witnessed the whole battle between Yi Tian and Xing Tian. To be honest, he didn't think much of Mieba. Since Mieba is so confident and has no emergency preparation to return Xianyu after losing the game, although he has some Xianyu, he will not lend it out rashly. What? Are you poor enough for this? Or don't you believe me? Mieba's eyes flashed over the crowd one by one. To his embarrassment, no friar showed any sign of borrowing his fairy jade. At that time, his face could not hang. Ha, since no one wants to borrow you, I can lend it to Mia Dao Yu. However, I want 50% rebate, 30% is a little less. Moreover, you have to sign a contract. If there is no return of Xianyu, all the seizures will be owned by me in the future until the capital and interest of the borrowed Xianyu are paid off. This is the only condition. At this time, the leader of Lu Hall, who was always on the sidelines, opened his mouth with a smile. 50% will be achieved. At most, you can bet more. Nieba agreed almost without any hesitation, and then looked at Yi Tian. Yi Xiaoyu, how much can you bet at most? Whatever you want, I'll take it. Yi Tian still said indifferently. Well, I can't see. You're rich? Nieba looked at Yi Tian carefully again, and turned to the master of Lu Hall with a happy face. I don't know how many Xianyu can Master Lu lend me? 200,000. I'm afraid you can't afford more. With these words, Master Lu took out a piece of paper and handed it to Nieba. Nieba was despised, and his face was a little blue, but he didn't dare to attack me. Only depressed to pick up the paper, looked at the above content, and then signed the pen, signed his name. It's a contract. I don't know when the leader of Lu Hall is ready. Generally speaking, Nieba borrows 200,000 Xianyu and returns 300,000 immediately after the fight. If you lose the contest, you will get a 60% rebate in 1 month and a 70% rebate in 2 months. If you can't return Xianyu, you can offset the rest of the seizure until the Lord Lu is satisfied. The latter one can be regarded as an open contract, and there is no clear stipulation. Everything depends on the mood of the Lord Lu. If it really comes to this stage, I believe that Nieba will be greatly punished by the old Master Lu. However, Nieba did not hesitate to sign for the only reason that he was confident enough of himself. The other side is just a monk in the middle of Longmen realm. No matter how powerful he is, his many means are not as good as a monk in Longmen dream. And Yi Tian is obviously about 20 years old. What can you do even if you start to practice from your mother's womb? Well, this is 200,000 Xianyu. It's here for the time being. Lu will guarantee you that whoever wins will get Xianyu as promised. But I want to take 10% of the Xianyu from it as the premium. The master of Lu Hall took out a storage bag from Shumi Commandment, weighed it in his hand and said, Once you achieve 10%, you win anyway. Nieba agreed without hesitation. I don't care. It's 200,000 fairy jade. Although he felt that the food of Lord Lu was a little ugly, he was very relieved to have such a guarantor. Immediately, he took out a storage fee and then threw it to Lord Lu. The leader of Hall Lu took it with a smile, inquired about it, nodded slightly, and then threw a piece of wood to Nieba. Nieba signs his name and gives it to Yi Tian. Both sides carve their names on the board and go to the arena. Wait a minute, you two. I don't think it's appropriate to compete here. The venue is too narrow to give full play to our strength. How about going to the martial arts arena in the city? At this time, Lu Changlao proposed again. Just listen to Elder Lu. Nieba agreed immediately. Whatever you want. Yi Tian is also very heroic nodded. Well, the exchange of meritorious service hall will be suspended temporarily. Everyone can go to the martial arts arena to watch it. After coming back, the exchange will still be carried out in the original order. Moreover, I have to set up a gamble to see if Yi Tian and Nieba win respectively. The odds are 1-to-1. Lu Chang nodded with satisfaction and added. Yi Tian's lips are full of radiance. He says in his heart that Elder Lu really knows how to do business. He has a good abacus. However, it doesn't matter much to him. With the leader Lu's words, all the exchanges here, including the exchanges between the Warcraft and the Orcs, were suspended at the same time. The party left the Hall of Meritorious Service and flew to the martial arts arena in the city. I don't know how the leader of Lu Hall spread the news. On the way to the martial arts arena, some monks also joined in. In a short distance of more than 10 miles, the number of people in the team has expanded from the initial hundreds to the final thousands, which is really magnificent, and the number is gradually increasing. The martial arts arena is located in the center of the city, covering a large area, and the field array is arranged in the martial arts arena, in order to prevent the aftereffects from being too big and the surrounding buildings from being affected. After Yi Tian and Mieba both stand in the martial arts arena, the master of Lu Hall begins to bet again. This time, most of the friars who heard the news were led to defeat Ba, and led Yi Tian to win very little. The master of Lu Hall was very busy outside the court. He kept collecting xianyu, and then issued the voucher for the bet. This time, the bet was more formal. Yi Tian didn't take part in the off-site gambling this time, so he can take it as soon as it's good. In the martial arts arena of Nuta, more and more monks came after hearing the news, gradually forming a sea of people. Moreover, a large proportion of monks bet, and some even bet all their wealth on Mieba. The biggest hit is Mieba. It is not that there are no friars who have one, but in contrast, they are very few. After a long time, Lu Changlao finally stopped betting, and then announced the official start of the contest. With a magic hit, Nuta's martial arts arena was protected by a huge transparent shield. In the shield, Yi Tian and Mieba stood at a distance of more than 10 zhang, looking at each other, but they didn't do it first. The atmosphere in the field was suppressed, and everyone knew that the next shock would be a shock. The monks on the field also watched the arena breathlessly through the shield. Although everyone believed that the final victory must belong to exterminating hegemony, the performance of Yi Tian's battle with Xing Tian was also heard by the monks who witnessed it with their own eyes. As a matter of fact, this contest is still full of suspense. The most important point of this gamble is not only the bet of millions of xianyu, but also the difference between the two monks. One is the late Jindan realm, the other is the late Longmen realm. This has never happened in history, and with a huge amount of gambling. The confrontation between the two sides lasted only a short period of time, and Mieba took the lead. He gestured and pinched with both hands. A terrible fire dragon appeared out of thin air. It was only 3 inches long when it first appeared. It rose with the wind, grew rapidly, and gradually became 3 or 4 feet in size. Red all over, emitting a majestic atmosphere and blazing high temperature, then head and tail swing, accelerating to shoot Yi Tian. The temperature inside the shield rises suddenly. Such a fierce fire dragon, let alone being hit by the front, may be slightly affected. Ordinary Longmen monks can't bear it. Xiwan Linghua? Yi Tian didn't pay much attention to the fire dragon just appeared, but he felt a sense of danger at any time. Since he practiced Sui Wangwen's thinking method, his understanding of fire has reached a level that ordinary people can't reach. After the hardening of climbing the Fairy Mountain, his perception of the nature of fire has reached the peak. He sensed that the fire dragon emitted by Mieba was not the fire dragon in the 5 elements Taoism, but contained some Shiwan spirit fire which Mieba didn't know where to get. This kind of fire is a kind of strange fire, similar to the idea of Sui Wang Temple. It will become more and more powerful after being fostered by monks. It seems that the monk and Longmen can't escape this dragon. In the martial arts arena, a monk in the Golden Elixir realm side. This is a monk in the later stage of the Golden Elixir realm. He asked himself that if he was attacked like this, he would not be able to cope with it. Yi Tianyuan's eye was shining. At this time, he had already seen the stone source fire in the fire dragon. He had a smile on his lips and pinched his hand slightly. A fiery phoenix appeared out of thin air. The wings of the fire incited him a few times and flew to meet the fire dragon. The fire dragon is huge and majestic, but the fire phoenix is much smaller and extremely quiet. It seems to fly to the fire dragon silently. Another difference between fire dragon and fire dragon is that fire dragon is red and full of flame, while fire phoenix is red with white light. The flame on its body is very small and hidden in the white light. There is a sharp contrast between big and small. In terms of momentum, Fire Phoenix is much weaker than Fire Dragon. Almost instantaneously, the fire dragon and the fire phoenix meet in the air. The fire dragon wraps the fire phoenix in it, and there is no trace of the fire phoenix. It's like a stone thrown into the vast river, just arousing a few inconspicuous ripples. Just when everyone thought that Tian's phoenix was just a little trick, the dragon suddenly changed. Somewhere in the red flame of the fire dragon's body, a bright white flame flashed out, first a little bit, with the bright white flame growing bigger and bigger. Soon, the bright white flame showed its essence. It turned out to be the phoenix's head, but at this time the phoenix was bigger than before. On the contrary, as the phoenix broke out from the fire dragon's encirclement, its body was slowly getting bigger. But the fire dragon's body is shrinking, and its speed is visible to the naked eye. Many monks who watched the scene outside were stunned. The fire attribute Taoist art is usually used to burn the target. Some monks who are proficient in the 5 elements Taoist art can conjure up shapes, but they are only used as a way of physical attack. Just as Tian's fire phoenix is engulfed by Nieba's fire dragon, it can break through. Moreover, it seems that some phenomena show that Tian's fire phoenix is engulfing Nieba's fire dragon, which is somewhat incredible. It needs to master the fire attribute Taoist art to an extremely profound degree, and its own mana also needs to be extremely strong. That is to say, only Tian's mana is stronger than Nieba. Can it achieve this point? In other words, Tian didn't use the fire attribute of the 5 elements Taoism, but other terrible special flames. Fire phoenix out of the fire dragon not only did not fly away, but a roll of body shape wrapped the fire dragon. No matter how the fire dragon struggle, still cannot break free from the fire phoenix encirclement. Moreover, Huofeng's body is constantly growing, while Huolong's huge body is constantly getting smaller. Look at the sword. Seeing the change of the fire dragon, Nieba uses a magic power to recover the fire dragon. However, he feels that the fire dragon is surrounded by the fire phoenix and can't recover with his mind. He was startled, opened his mouth and vomited. A 3-inch mini sword appeared. Then it became bigger in a flash and fell to Tian. The power of the sword makes the air twist. I'm afraid the explosive force of the sword makes a sharp sound of gas explosion. The flash of the sword is as fast as lightning. In this case, unless it's hard to connect, ordinary people can't escape the sword light with their body speed. However, at this time, Tian's figure disappeared out of thin air, and the powerful sword of Nieba immediately failed. A small skill of carving insects. Seeing this, Niebaling snorted, and suddenly his body was shocked. His whole body was 3 or 4 times bigger than before. Almost at the same time, his momentum burst out. Waves of mana spread around his body. At one point, the regular curvature of the wave suddenly appeared some distortion, as if encountering some obstacles in general. Seeing this situation, Nieba pointed to the twisted part of the ripple, and a huge axe was sacrificed out of thin air by him and chopped to the place. Before he entered the martial arts arena, he had inquired into the cause of Xingtian's defeat in detail. It turned out that he was not aware of it for a moment and was taken advantage of by the other party's secret interest technique. It was really a bit unjust. Now that he knew this, he always kept a high degree of vigilance, guarding against Tian's means. When you chop forward with your giant axe, Tian will no longer be invisible. He will smash the axe with his right fist. Boom! Under the huge impact, Tian's body was shocked, but the huge axe flew to the distance in the power of Tian's fist. It was only when it came to the field on the edge of the martial arts field that it was rebounded. A strike to occupy the advantage, but Tian did not continue to attack. But as soon as his eyes swept away, he continued to pay attention to the fight between Huofeng and Huolong. At this time, the fire dragon has turned into more than 1 meter long, while the fire phoenix's body is full of 2 zhang size, and the contrast between the two bodies quickly reversed. The gap between the two is getting bigger and bigger. At a certain moment, the fire phoenix suddenly makes a clear sound, opens its beak and wants to swallow the whole little fire dragon. Dare you! Nieba's face was livid, and his body flashed. He went straight to Tian, and his right fist banged away. The momentum of this fist is extremely overbearing, and the void has the feeling of being distorted. If this fist blows on the top of the mountain, no one will doubt that the top of the mountain will be collapsed. Hard connection? Tian raises his eyebrows and stabs at his feet. The wood property mana takes root in the ground, and his right fist goes with it. He blows to Mieba's fist. This is a collision without the slightest skill, an attack based on strength. It's even more dangerous than Yi Tianhong's axe. Boom! A huge noise, extremely strong impact, Yi Tian body flying back more than 10 feet, bang hit on the shield. Mieba was the same. Under the strong impact, a cloud of blood flew out of his mouth and flew upside down. He also hit the field's shield. With a strong defense function, the shield was hit by 2 people and made a sound obviously deformed. It seems that if the field is weaker, it is likely to be smashed by 2 people. Chirp! At this time, the Fire Phoenix has swallowed all the fire dragons. The Fire Phoenix chirps a few times, as if it is cheering for victory, but the smell of its mountain is a bit stronger than before. This is the benefit of Shiyuan Linghua, and the quality of Yi Tian Ben Linghua has risen to a new level. Yi Tian negative hand standing on the edge of the field, looking at the scene, hand a move, will fire Phoenix back, income and the Dantian continue to accumulate. Then his eyes fell on Mieba. At this time, Mieba's mouth was full of blood, and he was struggling to stand up from the ground, but some of them seemed unable to do what he wanted, and they seemed to be seriously injured. Taking back his eyes from Mieba, Yi Tian looks out of the court through the transparent field shield, especially to the leader of Lu Hall. But Lord Lu did not respond and did not announce the result of the contest. Yi Tian smiles and grabs back, waiting for Mieba to get up. For a long time, Mieba struggled to get up, and staggered to Yetian. Everyone's eyes focused on them in the martial arts arena. Although the leader of Lu Hall didn't announce the result of the contest, judging from the current situation, Mieba was unable to fight anymore. If Yi Tian takes advantage of the victory, he won't take much effort to kill Ba. Mieba's face was as white as snow, and many people outside the court were also as white as snow. The friars who bet Mieba's victory had mixed feelings in their hearts. Once upon a time, they were all ready. If Mieba and Yi Tian were to do the same thing, pretending that Yi Tian would win, they would never agree. But now they have nothing to say. There is no subterfuge in this collision. Strength is strength and weakness is weakness. Those monks who reached the middle and later stages of the golden elixir asked themselves that if they replaced Mieba with themselves, they would be more seriously injured than Mieba. Because Yi Tian's strike seems to have the power to destroy everything. Is this really the attack that a monk in the middle of Longmen realm can make? In the crowd outside, Xing Sheng's face was also very ugly. Xing Tian came out for him and failed. Now, he is counting on Mieba to take a breath for him, but it turns out to be so. The same as the cultivation of Longmen realm. He is still far worse than Yi Tian. He suddenly turns around and quietly leaves the martial arts arena. His heart is desolate. Yi Daoyu, I've lost. I won't be wronged. I'm convinced. You let me know what it means to have a mountain outside the mountain. I have benefited a lot from this battle. At least I will be more careful in protecting my life in the future. I will never despise any lower-level friars anymore. Mieba put his hand over his chest and coughed a few times before he said, "Haha, I've accepted." Yi Tian said, "Gesture a bullet, a pill to recover the injury flew to each other. My original spirit fire, devoured your Shiyuan spirit fire, want to return is impossible, but I can give you some compensation." Mieba took the pill in surprise, looked at it slightly, and the surprise expression appeared in his eyes. Then he sent it to the entrance. This is Yi Tian's healing elixir, which is made by using the liquid of nature. Although the liquid of nature consumed is only a little bit, the spirit material of refining elixir is also extremely precious and rare. The effect of this elixir is only slightly inferior to that of the liquid of nature, but it is absolutely the highest among the healing elixirs. Mieba had just taken the pill and stopped coughing immediately. His injury was slowly recovering. At least now his pain was all over the body and he was standing the same. If we didn't know that he had just been seriously injured, it would be hard for other people to believe that he was still standing unsteadily just now. Mieba looked inside for a moment. According to his experience, it should not take long for his body to recover. It is only a matter of 1 or 2 days for him to recover completely. Bone fracture and visceral displacement of the injury, has been completely unable to see any trace. Thank you, Yi Daoyu. Nieba said from the bottom of his heart. At this time, he sighed in his heart. No wonder no one wants to win in the Hall of Meritorious Service. It turns out that those Taoist friends really have eyes. Thank you. Let's talk about the compensation just now. The pill just now is only for healing, not for compensation. Yi Tian smiles a little, and then a flame appears in his hand. Then he jumps out of Yi Tian's palm and constantly changes into different shapes in the air. One is tiger-shaped, another is dragon-shaped, and lifelike, very realistic. The flame exudes the hot breath, at the same time, it jumps nimbly. At one moment, it suddenly disappears, and then it suddenly appears in another direction. This kind of fire control technique is amazing. This is hidden fire. It's my compensation, and I'll also discuss with you some of the feelings of the fire attribute Taoist art. While controlling the fire, Yi Tian explained to Nieba in detail. At the beginning, Nieba was full of amazement. He never thought that the small fire attribute Taoism could be cultivated to such an amazing situation. Many of the skills mentioned by Yi Tian are unheard of by him, and some of the fire control methods he is pondering, but he has never really mastered. After listening to Yi Tian's explanation, Nieba suddenly has a kind of orange. It seems that Yi Tian has opened a mysterious door, let him see a broader starry sky, and let his understanding of the nature of fire rise straight up to a height he never dared to reach. This harvest alone, Nieba thinks, has far exceeded the value of 200,000 Xianyu. After all, Xianyu is just something out of her body, and what she has learned really belongs to her. Even if there is no Shiwan Linghua, but now the perception of fire attribute is increased. Even if the ordinary fire attribute Taoism, I believe it will not be worse than Shiwan Linghua. Moreover, it's not just about the attribute of fire. It can be deduced from the attribute of fire to the other 5 elements. Although each attribute has its own characteristics, it's always possible to learn from it. When Yi Tian stops talking and puts away the fire, Nieba will recover from the state of understanding the fire attribute. Yi Daoyu, if you don't dislike destroying someone's stupidity, are you willing to accept me as an apprentice? Worship Yi Daoyu and listen to the lessons. Pondering for a moment, Nieba said solemnly. Yi Tian was stunned, and then he waved his hand with a smile. Yi Daoyu is joking. You are a monk in Jindan realm, and I am just a monk in Longmen realm. Do you worship me as your teacher? How can I accept the 200,000 Xianyu you lost? Ah, it turns out that Master is only 20 years old, and he has reached the middle stage of Longmen realm. Moreover, he has a deeper understanding of cultivation than his disciples. In time, Master's accomplishments will catch up with those of his disciples, and even enter heaven. As for the fairy jade, even if it's the disciples' tuition fee, although you want it, Master is here, please accept the disciples' tuition fee. Nieba says words, unexpectedly true. Plop 1, double knees kneel down in front of leaf day to count out 3 heads. Well, in that case, I'll take you as a disciple for the time being, but if you are included in our sect, if you commit crimes, you will be expelled from the gate and severely punished. Yi Tianlu pondered and nodded. Thank you, Master. I'm sure I can't disgrace Master's school. It's my honor to be the first disciple of Master. Hearing Yi Tian's promise, Nieba stood up happily and said with a smile. Haha, you are not the first disciple. The first disciple is already there. Yi Tian said with a smile. Well, the second disciple is not bad. Nieba was a little disappointed and then said. Yi Tian laughed again, second disciple, you can't be ranked. If you really want to rank, it's estimated to be more than 1,000, but your elder martial brothers and sisters are not here. Oh, well, I heard that Master is from the Earth Star. I'm sure those elder martial brothers and elder martial sisters are on the Earth Star. They should meet each other when they have a chance. Yi Tian's identity card is marked with the words from the Earth Star, so it's not a secret that these friars deliberately inquired. Yi Tian didn't say anything more. Most of his disciples died in the attack that year, and some of them didn't know whether they were alive or dead, even including Murphy who had been to the Earth Star. Thinking of these, Yi Tian felt sad, but now it's not time for revenge, you can only wait for yourself to be stronger. At this time, outside the field, the master of Lu Hall played out a magic power to lift the defense of the field. Nieba has knelt down for Yi Tian. No matter what, this gambling fight has been divided. What surprised everyone was that Nieba, who had lost 200,000 xianyu, should not be in a good mood. However, he walked out of the martial arts arena talking and laughing with Yi Tian. This is Niemao's new master. If any Taoist friend dares to be disrespectful to my master, he will be disrespectful to Niemao. In other words, don't blame me for not giving face at that time. Nieba pointed to Yi Tian and raised his face. Then he turned to Yi Tianshi with a respectful attitude. There was an uproar. The voice is blocked in the field. They can't hear the dialogue between Yi Tian and Nieba. They just guess the reason why Nieba kneels down. However, no matter how they guess, they didn't know that Nieba was worshipping Yi Tian. A monk in the late Jindan kingdom worships a monk in the middle Longmen kingdom as his master. This is something that has never been seen before. When people look at Yi Tian again, their eyes are even different from before. But a lot of people don't think so. Yi Tian's situation of controlling fire in the field has been seen by everyone. The monks admire Yi Tian's understanding of the nature of fire. Of course, they also disagree. Perhaps, the degree of fire control does not represent anything, and the ultimate strength depends on cultivation and means. No matter how deep you can understand the nature of fire, you can only be more powerful in this realm. However, as a monk in the Golden Elixir realm, you should have some guidance on the transformation of the baby. Can Yi Tian? In their opinion, can't. Because Yi Tian is still a monk in Longmen realm. He just jumped out of the sea and just knew how to practice. How could he have the experience of transforming a baby? No matter what people think, Yi Tian doesn't care. He came to the leader of Lu Hall, took the storage bag from the other side, checked it, and put it away. Even if he had won, he should have won 400,000 xianyu, but he was deducted 10% of what he had won by Lord Lu, a total of 380,000. The master of Lu Hall needs to pay very little. This time, he made a lot of money. He got more than 1,000,000 xianyu at one time, and his eyes narrowed with laughter. Here, we didn't have too much time. Soon, we went back to the meritorious hall with the leader of Lu Hall. Everything is in the same order as before. But whether it's the demons or the underworld or the orcs, the topic of discussion is always Yi Tian. Yi Daoyu, in the next section, please line up at my place. At this time, in front of the queue, a round-faced friar came to say to Yi Tian. You're welcome, Taoist Duan. Yi doesn't mean to challenge you. I'm good here. Just wait a moment. Yi Tian declined. Haha, Yi Daoyu must have misunderstood that I only exchanged xianyu, but Yi Daoyu has a lot of xianyu, so he should want to exchange other resources. If you are in the front, you will have more choices. If you are in the back, some good things may be chosen by others. Moreover, we want to see what Yi Daoyu has gained in the underworld. Duan Jingxiu explained. Oh? Why are you so interested in Ye's capture? Yi Tian asked with a slight frown. Haha, don't get me wrong, Mr. Duan doesn't mean anything. It's just because it's time for Jin dynasty to choose the son of Longmen. Duan sees that Yi Daoyu is a man of cultivation in Longmen, and he is powerful. So I want to see how to deal with the underworld. If possible, if Yi Daoyu doesn't fight for it, isn't it a waste of his own strength? Duan Jingxiu returns with a smile. The emperor of Longmen chosen by Jin dynasty? Yi Tian had heard of it for the first time, and could not help asking curiously, what is Longmen Xingzi for? What's the advantage of being the son of Longmen what? Shifu also wants to go to the Jin dynasty to elect the Dragon's Gate son? There are many advantages to being a Dragon's Gate saint. Let the disciples talk to the master slowly. During their conversation, Nieba, who delivered and seized the Ming's booty with the leader of the Lu Hall, came back and owed the leader of the Lu Hall 200,000 xianyu. He gave all the booty he was going to exchange to the leader of the Lu Hall, which was the beginning of the mortgage repayment. But this was only the first repayment. As for when it would be paid off, I don't know. Let's talk about it in detail. Tian suddenly has a trace of interest. By chance, he comes to the Holy Land. What he needs most is to find all kinds of opportunities. Since there are good things, it's no harm to listen to them. Nieba explained, well, it's a long story. If the Terran want to survive in the wilderness, it's hard for the friars to grow up by themselves. Therefore, Wanyu Alliance will select the most talented monks from all levels and focus on training them, so as to ensure that the top monks will not be divided into different generations. These selected elites are called Xingzi, which are divided into Longmen Xingzi, Jindan Xingzi, Yuanying Xingzi, and Huaxing Xingzi. They are all selected according to their respective cultivation realms, and there are 3 holy sons in each realm. Every 10 years, the main purpose of the election is to make every holy son have a sense of crisis. For example, after 10 years of painstaking cultivation, Longmen Xingzi will compete with the existing Jindan Xingzi. According to his age, realm cultivation speed and strength, he will be able to go up and mediocre will go down. Huaxin Xingzi, Yuanying Xingzi and Jindan Xingzi are all selected from the same realm, but Longmen Xingzi is selected from the Longmen realm monks, and then competes with the existing Longmen Xingzi. They also select 3 people, and finally decide to leave 3. At present, there is still more than a month to go before the date of the election of the Emperor's son in Jin Dynasty. There are so many monks in Longmen realm in the field of wilderness that we can imagine their competitiveness. Once selected as the Son of God, there will be unimaginable resources and precious opportunities for many other ordinary monks. Wanyu League will also arrange the important task of standing in one's own way to exercise the control ability of Xingzi. Because the Holy Son should not only have excellent skills and excellent accomplishments, but also have the comprehensive ability to lead the human friars to glory. At the same time, the Son is not only the top friars of the future human race, but also the high-level leaders of the Wanyu Alliance, and even the leader of the Alliance are all selected from the sons who have reached a certain level. What's more, the Holy Son of Wanyu League should have his own responsibility and fight against the underworld, the demon, and the ORC. He is not a monk who only cultivates for himself and ignores the interests of the whole Terran. Therefore, in addition to cultivation and strength, the selection of the son's qualification also depends on the completion of the task, so as to define the performance and capture in the task. The friars who only do chores but don't perform tasks are not qualified to be promoted to the throne. It's too short for Shifu to come to the spiritual realm of the great wilderness. I don't think he has carried out the mission yet. Even if he carried out at once, it's estimated that there won't be too many seizures. After all, with Master's accomplishments, you can only join the Dragon's 3rd Battalion or the 2nd Battalion of the Dragon's Gate, and the tasks that these 2 camps can perform are ordinary tasks. So, later, Nieba didn't say it clearly, but Tian knew what he meant. If Shifu doesn't want to miss this opportunity, he can only strive to join the 1st Battalion of Longmen Frontier Mission, and then make use of the time before the election of Xingzi to strive for a big harvest. After a pause, he saw that Tian's face didn't change at all. He just looked at himself with a smile all the time. Nieba continued. I see. Tian nodded and asked, what kind of credit or capture is needed to be qualified for the election of the son of the emperor? Nieba grinned, this problem is not very clear. Generally speaking, it is not calculated by absolute number. It should be evaluated according to age, cultivation, merit, and capture. It needs to be evaluated by Wanyu League. Some of them have a lot of seizures, but they are of high level and strong strength. Relatively speaking, these seizures are nothing. Moreover, the Dragon's Gate Saint's son has a high requirement on age. He can't be over 30 years old. If he stays in the Dragon's Gate after 30 years old, he certainly doesn't have the qualification for election and has no training value. Master, you don't have to worry about that. Your age is absolutely in line with the conditions for selecting a son. It just depends on the mission and the seizure. Moreover, such tasks are all recorded, and it is not feasible to purchase booty as seizure. Tian nodded slightly and said no more, but he was calculating in his heart. The earth can't go back for the time being, and it seems that there is a lack of resources in the great wilderness spiritual realm. The main resources are in Wanyu League. No matter the resources or the opportunities, it seems a good choice to strive to become the Dragon's Gate Saint. The conversation here had already attracted the attention of other friars, but no one interrupted. Duan Jingxiu was waiting all the time and didn't say anything more. When Yi Tian turned his head slightly to look at him, he said with a smile, "Duan is also curious. I don't know if Yi Daoyu has the qualification to elect a son. You should know that there has been no monk elected a son in this city for hundreds of years. What procedures should be followed for the registration of the candidates?" Several times I heard about the qualification of gene election, but Yi Tian wanted to know more about it. Duan Jingxiu said, "Generally, the qualification of Longmen Xingzi is reported to Wanyu League by each city, because each city has different scale and quota. There is only 1 quota in a small city and 3 quota in a big city. However, this is not the only way. Although all the places reported by the cities must be the best monks in Longmen, in order to avoid regret, Wanyu League has specially set up some test items. If they can pass the test items, they can also get the qualification. It's just that in general, few monks can pass such a test, because it's too difficult." "I see." Yi Tian nodded and continued to ask. Then he stopped talking and continued to weigh in his heart. Seeing that Yi Tian didn't want to change his position, Duan Jingxiu was a little embarrassed, but he continued to introduce, "If Yi Daoyu really wants to participate in the election of the sun, he still needs to go to Fengyun City to fight for it, although there is only 1 place in Fengyun City, and he should have already belonged to it. But if we don't report it, we don't even have the qualification to take the test." "Okay, thank you Duan Daoyu. Yi will consider it carefully." Yi Tian nodded with a smile, adding some favor to the monk's impression. Seeing that many friars are still paying attention to this side, Yi Tian doesn't continue to say anything, but just waits patiently. Duan Jingxiu also returned to his position and was ready to exchange money. As time goes by, everyone's exchange rate is not fast. We need to inspect the spoils, choose the exchange items, and even bargain. It took a long time for Duan Jingxiu to finish the exchange, but he did not leave immediately. Instead, like other monks, he was waiting beside him. Yi Tian doesn't care to smile. These friars' curiosity is still very heavy. Not only here, but also the monks of the Warcraft and the orcs. Some people who had exchanged their spoils gathered to the side of the underworld, talking about some idle business on the surface, but looking at Yi Tian from time to time. Finally, the people in front of Yi Tian finished the exchange, and it was Yi Tian's turn to go up. The exchange room is a half-open hall, with a counter made of bluestone in front of the queue, and a spacious platform next to it for large booty. At this time, Yi Tian stood beside the platform and took out more than 10 Ming Jun's appendages. These were all taken into the storage ring by hand when performing the task. Well, it's not bad to get these underworld king's appendages. There are 2 deacons in the hall of meritorious service. They are middle-aged monks, 1 male and 1 female. In the middle of the golden elixir, the male only glances at Yi Tian's bones and says faintly, "Don't worry. It's not finished yet. Your platform is too small. I'm afraid you can't put it all out." Yi Tian glanced at the platform 3 or 4 feet wide and frowned. "Can't you put it here?" The 2 friars and nuns looked at each other in surprise. As a monk in Longmen realm, Yi Tian has the strength of Jindan realm, which they all know. However, the chance to take over the task is far from comparable with that of Jindan realm. If there is no chance, it means that there is not much gain. Maybe a monk can encounter a foreign race outside the mission and gain something. But it is extremely rare that such a large platform cannot hold the spoils. After all, ordinary foreigners in the wilderness usually don't have much wealth. Since Yi Tian said that, they didn't have the slightest doubt. After talking with each other, the nun said to Yi Tian, "Yi Daoyu, it's better to go to the open space over there, where it should be big enough." What she said about the open space is the place where Yi Tian and Xing Tian are fighting. It is more than 10 feet in circumference, which should be very open. But the Leaf Day swept an eyewear, slightly a frown, as if very reluctantly nodded, "Well, to there is also good." At this time, the monks in the line of the underworld people gathered around one after another. Together with the monks of the other 2 groups who had exchanged money, they also approached Yi Tian. Everyone was waiting to see. After all, the strength Yi Tian showed before is beyond their cognition, especially about the selection of Xingzi and Jin dynasty. They all have great interest. After all, these people are not destined for the sun. Although some people are conceited, including Nieba, they still have self-knowledge. Compared with the city monks, their strength is barely passable, but it is not worth mentioning in the whole human race and the whole Wanyu League. However, Yi Tian's abnormal strength is really different. Up to now, no one can see his depth. He only knows from his previous performance that he is definitely not an ordinary Longmen monk. Then ask Yi Daoyu to take out your booty. The deacon nun stretched out her hand and said. Yi Tian nodded calmly, then motioned, took out a ghost's appendage, lifted it with mana, and then put it on the ground. The bones of Hades. Indeed, there are the bones of the underworld. Someone whispered. It's true that with Yi Daoyu's strength, you can kill the underworld, but it's also expected. It's just that this bone seems very complete, but it's hard for ordinary monks in the Golden Elixir realm to do it. The deacon man praised the way. With a smile, Yi Tian continued to take out the bones of the underworld. One by one, the bones of the underworld were taken out and placed on the ground. Gradually, more and more voices began to appear in the crowd. As Yi Tian took out more and more Pluto's appendages, the crowd began to stir up. 10. 20. 30 pieces. Yi Tian took out 36 pieces of accessory bones one after another, and then he stopped. At this time, there was a lot of people around him. Master, you killed all these Hades yourself? The shortest of these skeletons are more than 1 foot high, and the height is even close to 2 feet. They spread out on the open space, occupying a large area. Nieba looked at the spectacular scene and asked in shock. What do you say? Do you think people will kill me? And do I have to buy other people's booty and come here to exchange it? Yi Tian said with a smile. In addition to the dialogue between the two, the hall was silent, and everyone was shocked by the underworld's bones. In particular, the 2 men and women deacons of the Hall of Meritorious Service were even more surprised. For a moment, they couldn't react. It's been a long time since I've been doing this job. There are many monks and longmen who come to exchange spoils. Even some monks and longmen have killed the underworld. But in that case, most of them have lost half their lives to kill our underworld. It's almost shocking that Yi Tian takes out 36 underworld bones at one time. What tasks do you get these from? The male deacon swallowed a mouthful of saliva and asked, not to mention the ordinary Longmen monk, even if he had entered the middle of Jindan realm, if he met these 30 Hades, he would be killed by seconds. At this time, no matter how strong Yi Tian was, he couldn't believe that Yi Tian could kill the 36 Hades only by one person's strength. Maybe where he found the bones, he thought to himself. Yi Tian said quietly, I just carried out a mission of Longmen first-level mission camp in Fengyun City, which is to go to a certain stronghold of the underworld and get back some corpses of my friends. First-level mission battalion? Can Master's accomplishments in the middle of Longmen reach the next level of mission camp? Nieba asked in horror. Yes, it's my request to enter the first-level mission camp. This matter is recorded in Fengyun City Lord's Mansion, Yi Tian confirmed. That's not right. Even the characters in Longmen first-level mission camp can't encounter these Hades. Even the first-level mission camp in Jindan is very risky to carry out such a mission. The man said suspiciously. Yes, it's a bit unusual. The intelligence error of the mission at that time led to the misjudgment of the strength of the underworld site. This mission is jointly carried out by Longmen first-level mission battalion and Jindan second-level mission battalion. Originally, the remnant friars of the first-level mission camp in Longmen had withdrawn from the underworld stronghold, but because it issued a new mission to rescue the trapped second-level mission camp in Jindan, we killed them again, so we met these Hades, killed them, and rescued the second-level mission camp in Jindan. Yi Tian explained a few sentences in detail. Everyone looked at each other and felt that they had heard something wrong. The second-level mission camp in Jindan realm was trapped in the underworld stronghold, and then the monks in Longmen realm went to rescue and successfully rescued them. It has never happened in the great wilderness. Let alone Yi Tian, a monk in Longmen, even a mission camp in Jindan may not be able to do it. After a moment of silence, the male monk asked, "So, are these Hades killed by the first-level mission camp in Longmen?" Tian had no choice but to smile bitterly and spread out his hand. "I just said it very clearly, right? But it's hard to believe?" The man licked his lips and said difficultly, "Haha, Yu, let me talk about it." While talking, someone outside the crowd suddenly said. When Tian heard the voice, he found out who the comer was. He turned to look at the comer and said with a smile, "How did Zheng Tongling get here?" Zheng Xiu said, "It's a coincidence, Yu. I'm going to exchange some booty here, because the harvest of this mission is too much. Fengyun City can't meet our needs." With that, Zheng Xiu turned to the male Xiu of the Hall of Meritorious Service, the senior, junior, Zheng Xiu, commander of Longmen First-Level Task Battalion of Fengyun City. Tian Deu is a friar of our battalion. The mission, he said, was led by the younger generation of Longmen First-Level Mission Camp. Dao's statement is completely true. It's a shame to say that after receiving the task of rescuing the second-level mission camp of Jindan, Dao worried that the friars of the first-level mission camp of Longmen would suffer some losses. He rushed into the underworld stronghold alone, rescued the second-level mission camp of Jindan, and took charge of the rear of the palace. He didn't leave the stronghold until he killed all the underworld. The friars of the second-level mission camp of Jindan Realm and Fengyun City can testify. This is my identity token. With a word, Zheng Xiu took out the identity token and handed it to the man. The man took it over and looked at it carefully. Finally he nodded and gave the identity token back to Zheng Xiu. "It's not me who asked the bottom of the matter. Since Zheng Tongling testified, it's natural that this matter is true. And whether Dao captured it by hand has nothing to do with this exchange. I was shocked that Dao's strength was so strong. I'm afraid that the monks with such strength at the top of the Golden Elixir realm are not as good as them. After all, these Hades want to escape, and I'm afraid not all of them can stay. Therefore, I am very optimistic about Dao's selection of the sun." Dao also knows about the selection of Xingzi in Jin Dynasty? Zheng Xiu's face brightened. "We talked about this with Dao of the mission camp before. Everyone is optimistic about Dao. If a Dragon Gate Saint comes out of the first-level mission camp of Longmen territory in Fengyun City, all the teammates will follow us." Tian gently waved his hand and said with a smile, "It's just a preliminary idea. Is it possible to succeed or not? Now it's better to finish the exchange first." "Yes, it's important. Since Dao has killed so many Hades, I think there are other spoils besides bones?" The male monk of the Hall of Meritorious Service glanced over many bones and asked. "Of course," you said, no one would believe it, but I also need to see what resources the Meritorious Hall has before I decide whether to exchange here." Tian said calmly. "There must be some resources, but it depends on what kind of booty is used to exchange them. For example, although it is very difficult for the monks in Longmen Realm and Jindan Realm to obtain the ghost bone, it is very easy for the monks above Yuanying Realm. This kind of booty can only be exchanged for resources such as immortal jade, magic weapon, skill and talisman. If you want to exchange resources such as elixir and spirit material, it's really not good enough. Dao may also know that the most scarce thing in the great wilderness spiritual realm is spiritual materials and elixirs. So it is." Tian felt his chin and pondered. He immediately asked, "What pills and spirit materials are there in the Hall of Meritorious Service? Can you tell ye?" "It's no problem. It's no secret." The friar happily took out 2 jade slips and gave them to Tian. Tian took it and pasted it on his forehead to quickly read the contents. "This is a jade slip recording Linkai. There are more kinds of spirit materials than I expected. Although there are not 2 precious spirit materials, some of them can be used by myself." Immediately, Tian read another jade slip. It contains the names of some pills. There are also several kinds of pills that can help the monks in Longmen Realm to cultivate, but Tian didn't take a fancy to them. These pills are no more than 4 grades, and their grades are too low. After recording all the information in his mind, Tian returned the 2 jade slips and asked, "Excuse me, what kind of spoils of the underworld have the qualification to exchange for spirit materials and pills?" "It's this kind of thing. It's called the Underworld Stone. Ye Dalyu killed so many underworld, how many can ye capture? With these words, a piece of black jade appeared in the hands of the deacon. The color was as black as ink, and there was abundant spirit in it. Yi Tian's eyes flashed and asked, "It turns out that this thing is called Ming Stone. Some of it has been captured. What's the use of this Ming Stone?" The man said, "For the underworld stone is very useful. It can not only help to cultivate the spirit of the underworld, but also build the fog of the underworld. But for the Terran friars, cultivation is useless, and the biggest use is to absorb the fog through the dark stone and pay for the area occupied by the underworld. Even if you kill the meditation in the fog, as long as the fog is still there, you can't recover it, because it's not suitable for human monks to live in the fog. The underworld people send out fog through the underworld stone and occupy the Terran area. The underworld stone has the function of releasing and absorbing the fog. However, the number of times each underworld stone is used is limited, and it will be damaged after reaching the limit, so the Terran people lack the underworld stone very much. In order not to be acquired by the Terran, the underworld people carry very few underworld stones on their bodies. Unless there is a large-scale operation to occupy or expand new areas, there will be a large number of dark stones. Therefore, the stone of the underworld is the key to the battle between the human race and the underworld. Without the blessing of the fog of the underworld, the combat effectiveness of the underworld will be greatly reduced. Therefore, the alliance of all regions will use the stone of the underworld to exchange for the precious spiritual materials and elixirs for the human race. I see. After hearing this, Yi Tian knew it clearly. After a little meditation, he asked, "I want to exchange all the hibiscus, rhinoceros, and yunlan roots and the jade slips. How many stones do you need?" Yi Tian says 7 kinds of spiritual materials that he can use. As for the spiritual materials Qin Luo needed to use, he still had a lot of them, and he was not in a hurry to exchange them. All of them? That hard to repair smell speech, eyes surprised color a flash. Well, I help you Dalyu calculate. Hibiscus syriacus needs 800 stones per plant, 6 of which need 4,800 pieces, rhinoceros needs 600 stones per plant, 5 of which need 3,000 pieces, yunlangan needs 1,000 stones per plant, 4 of which need. When he quoted the price of all the spiritual materials mentioned by Yi Tian, he quickly calculated the total price. Yi Dalyu, if you exchange all these spiritual materials, you need 32,000 pieces of dark stone. With that, he looks at Yi Tian and observes the other party's reaction. After all, the number of these dark stones is too large. According to the past experience, although the underworld will carry the underworld stone, the number is very small. Without a long period of accumulation, it is impossible to have such a number of underworld stones, even if Yi Tian killed 36 underworld at one time. Who knows, what he saw was still a calm look of Yi Tian, and he didn't have the slightest reaction because of the huge number of dark stones he reported. 32,000 Ming stone, you can still. Next, Yi Tian nodded a little and took out a storage bag. With a gesture, piles of dark stones appeared on the ground. So many dark stones? When the number of dark stones on the ground is increasing, the crowd of onlookers hears the cry of surprise. A lot of monks have a look of astonishment. After all, although they have all seen the ghost stones, it is the first time that so many ghost stones appear at the same time. This kind of scene can be described as extremely spectacular. Up to now, no one doubts that Yi Tian's 36 underworld bones were obtained from other sources, because even if the high-level monks got these bones, they could not give all these underworld stones to Yi Tian. Because the stone is also a great wealth for high-level monks. They can also exchange the stone for something that can't be bought with fairy jade. Dalyu, check whether there are 32,000 Ming stones? Until Yi Tian took out the last pile of dark stones, he said to the man. Each stone has the size of a green brick, and 32,000 stones are piled up, occupying a large area. At this time, many people understand what Yi Tian said. If Yi Tian can barely use it here, if he takes out more dark stones, it is estimated that there is not enough space here. There are 32,000 dark stones, one of which is quite a few. The male and female nuns in the Hall of Meritorious Service counted it and then said to Yi Tian with a smile. It's also a great credit for them to collect so many dark stones. Naturally, they are very happy. Then ask Dao Yu to give me the spiritual material ye needs, and I'll test it too. Yi Tian said directly. Wait a minute, Dao Yu. The nun nodded with a smile, then returned to the hall of meritorious service. As soon as Yi Tianlu responded, he looked at the male monk and said, "Can ye get the qualification of selecting a son in Jin dynasty for his merits?" The male monk laughed. Yi Daoyu is joking. He killed 36 Hades at one time and exchanged 32,000 pieces of Hades stone. This kind of merit should be unique among the monks in Longmen realm. It's not qualified, so who is qualified? That's good. Dao Yu, can the resources exchanged between the orcs and the demons be the same as those of the underworld? Yi Tian nodded and asked. Since they both belong to the meritorious service hall, the things they can exchange are the same, regardless of each other. Yes? Yi Dao Yu and the capture of demon and orc? The male repairs surprised to ask away. So it is. Yi Tian nodded calmly. It's right to say that when he was on Earth, he did capture a lot of money from the demons in the Valley of Life and Death. Although he was not in the Great Wilderness, he was also a demon after all. In fact, even the ghost stone he just took out was not obtained in the last mission, but from the Devil's Cave in northern Xinjiang. Yi Dao Yu is really extraordinary. Dao Yu only like Linkai, but don't you think about pills? The male slender grew a mouthful of airway. Up to now, he believes that what Yi Tian said will never be adulterated. He just doesn't want to mention it more. Those pills don't suit me. All I need is the elixir. Yi Tian took the problem with him in a word. At this time, the nun of the meritorious service hall had returned and gave Yi Tian a storage bag. After God recognized the Lord, Yi Tian took out the spiritual materials and checked them one by one. He found no problems, so he took them into Shumi commandment. The man of the meritorious service hall took Yi Tian's identity card and stored the exchange information in it for future inspection. Since the matter of the underworld stone has been exchanged, how can these underworld bones be valued? After that, Yi Tian looks at the underworld's bones. Haha, there is a fixed price for the bones of the underworld. Each complete bone of the underworld can be exchanged for 20 pieces of fairy jade. If you want to exchange for magic weapons, gongfa, talismans and other resources, you need to convert them according to the price of magic weapons, gongfa and talismans. I wonder what kind of resources Yi Dao Yu is going to exchange. Male Xiao said with a smile. The exchange price is so low? Yi Tian frowned and said that the bones of the great underworld are only worth 20 pieces of fairy jade. He finally understood why the friars of the Golden Elixir realm in the wilderness were so poor. If we calculate in this way, the friars of Jindanjing who can take out tens of thousands of immortals are definitely the local tyrants of the rich family. Yi Daoyu's new arrival in the wilderness, and he doesn't know anything about the underworld. Bones are of little use to the friars of the human race. The reason why Wanyu League exchanges these spoils is to encourage the friars to kill the underworld more, which can also be regarded as an incentive mechanism. After all, even if you can store things, no one is used to running around with a bone. Isn't it good to use Sumishio? The male Shio still smiles to explain away. Well, then, exchange it all for Xianyu. And these. With these words, Yi Tian took out a large number of bone utensils, and piled a large pile beside the accessory bones. This kind of thing is useless to Yi Tian. The price of bone knife and bone gun is also fixed. If Yi Daoyu decides to exchange 2 pieces of fairy jade, he will check them here. Looking at the piles of bone artifacts, the man Shio introduced again. Forget it, Nieba. I'll give you these bones and artifacts. You can handle them by yourself. The price of the boneware is too low. Yi Tian doesn't bother to exchange it himself. It's only more than 1,000 fairy jade. Thank you, master. I'll go to Lord Lu to pay off the debt. Nieba hears the speech and smiles to bow his hand to Yi Tian. He is in debt now, and his idea is to return some. There's no need to find me. I'm here myself. When the voice rang, the elder Lu of the meritorious service hall had already appeared in front of the public. These appendages and bone implements will cover all the remaining debts. I've made a lot of profits in the gambling fight between Yi Daoyu and Nieba. Moreover, Yi Daoyu didn't bet when he knew he was going to win, so he was very honest. Now, Yi Daoyu and Nieba have become masters and apprentices. Even if I give you two a favor and accept these bones, the debt between me and Nieba will be written off. Lu Changlao is still the same as he used to be. He said with a smile, I also hope Yi Daoyu will become a saint in the future and take care of me more. With these words, the monk of Yuanyingjing arched his hand to Yi Tian. Well, Yi wrote down the favor. Yi Tian nodded slightly and said softly. People around him were deeply surprised to see this scene. Lu Daozi, the old eccentric Yuanying, who has always been mercenary and tried to earn resources, was so generous to get rid of the huge debts. Moreover, with his current cultivation and status, he even made friends with a monk in Longmen. This situation is quite abnormal. Is this Yi Tian, who is still in the middle of Longmen realm, not even qualified to be a saint's son in Jin dynasty, let alone a shadow of becoming a saint's son? Is Lu Laoqi treating each other like this? Is his value so great now? Among the people's speculations, Lu Daozi said again, Yi Daoyu, this is the qualification card authorized by the city master himself to participate in the Shengzi test, and the relevant information is indicated in it. If Fengyun City can't give you the place to participate in the election, you can use this qualification card to participate in the test. Speaking of it, the election of Shengzi will be held soon. All the 3 places in the city have been allocated and can't be changed now. I believe that the same is true of Fengyun City where you are. It is estimated that going to Fengyun City is just a procedure. The result is self-evident. Take this qualification card. You can use it or not at that time. If you use this card, even if you take part in the election as a monk of Castle Peak City, it has nothing to do with Fengyun City. Finish saying, handed a delicate small brand in the hand Yi Tian. Yi Tian solemnly took it over and looked at it carefully. It was exquisitely made, with flowing clouds and lace. The design was simple, and the front was engraved with the 5 words Emperor's Son's selection order. The design on the back is also very mysterious, but it is annotated with Castle Peak City. Yi also wrote down the love between Lu Daoyu and the Lord of the City. Yi Tian gives thanks to Lu Daozi. No matter how he goes to Fengyun City, at least there is Qingshan City. It's no problem to take part in the qualification competition of Shengzi Jin election. However, Fengyun City still has to go back once. After all, he is a naturalized monk of Fengyun City. He can't ignore Fengyun City because of his feelings and reason. If there are other changes and disputes due to procedural problems, it's not beautiful. Thinking about this, Yi Tian says goodbye to Lu Daozi and the 2 deacons of the meritorious hall, but Nieba and Duan Jingxiu give Yi Tian a few steps. Nieba was very happy when he was relieved of the debt. He was also instructed by Yi Tian. He learned the nature of fire by leaps and bounds. Today, he also benefited a lot. Following Yi Tian, he said rather reluctantly, Master, my recent task has been completed. I'll see you at Julu Mountain a month later, where my disciples will witness Master's selection of Longmen's son. I will also go to some time, and I will witness the birth of the most powerful Dragon's Gate Saint's son with Mia brother. Duan Jing is practicing Hanshao Baoquan. See you at Julu Mountain. Yi Tian nodded slightly, then turned into a light and left the Hall of Meritorious Service. A month later, the Jin election of Longmen Shengzi was held in Julu Mountain. As for Jindan Shengzi and Yuanying Shengzi, they were in different places and were not related to each other. A few hours later, Yi Tian returned to Fengyun City. He went to the courtyard where Jinji and Yuye lived to have a look. Seeing that they were practicing in seclusion, he left and rushed to the Lord's residence. Deacon Qin, I want to sign up for Longmen Shengzi Jin election. I don't know if I can get the quota of Fengyun City? With the identity token in his hand, Yi Tian smoothly enters the city lord's mansion. Seeing the Deacon Qin who handled his naturalization affairs last time, he asks directly. You? Deacon Qin's eyes looked at Yi Tian's face a few times, and hummed softly, last time you finished your task well, I heard something about it. But do you know what kind of strength is needed for the selection of Longmen Shengzi? Don't say you are the midterm strength of Longmen realm, even if you are the late strength of Longmen realm, there are tens of millions of them. You know, there are more than 600 cities in the great wilderness spiritual realm, with hundreds or tens of millions of monks in each city, only 3 Longmen saints. Do you think it's possible? What's more, the only quota in this city has been determined as early as 5 years ago. You'd better go back to practice and get ready for the next task. Tian was disgusted with this man's attitude in his heart, but on the surface, he said quietly, since there is no quota, I heard that a city leader can recommend Longmen border friars to participate in the qualification test of Jin election. Is that okay? Recommended test? Deacon Sheen snorted with disdain. Do you think the recommendation test is for fun? Would you recommend anyone who comes to the Lord of the city? Let me tell you, from tens of thousands of years ago until now, Fengyun City has never had a saint's son. Except for those amazing talents, Saint's son comes from a rich family with endless resources. It's a joke that an ordinary Sanshio, who has just entered the spiritual realm of the great wilderness, also dreams of becoming a holy son. What's more, the lord of the city is in seclusion. He has no time to take care of your business. I'm busy here, too. You can leave. If I get recommended tests from other cities, is that okay? The Leaf Day disdains to say with him more, suppress the anger in the heart to sink a voice to ask away. Yes, of course. If you have that ability, let other city masters recommend you to do your dream of being the holy son of Longmen. As soon as he opened his mouth, Deacon Sheen closed his eyes and waved his hand with disdain as he spoke. He coaxed Tian away like a fly. Tian turns around indifferently, strides out of the hall, gets up and flies into the air towards Wanlu Mountain. I've done what I should do. I'm not sorry for Fengyun City. I'm afraid that after I go there, I won't have many chances to return to Fengyun City. Before leaving, he went to the courtyard of Jinji and Yuye. Chuanin calls the 2 nuns out. Tian throws the 2 storage bags to them respectively, and then turns to leave. There are 1,000 fairy jade in each storage bag, which can be regarded as the reward for leading the way. Jinji and Yuye are holding a storage bag in their hands, watching Tian's figure disappear in the sky. Wanlu Mountain is a vast mountain with a radius of nearly 10,000 li. At the junction of the Tian and the ORC. The mountain was originally owned by the orcs. I don't know how many years ago, in order to obtain the resources in the mountain, the Tian monks gradually gained control of the mountain. Taking this as the boundary, to the south is the wildland of the orcs, and to the north is the resting place of the human friars. The east is occupied by the underworld, while the west belongs to the demon. At the beginning of this day, Wanlu Mountain, which used to be garrisoned by tens of thousands of monks, suddenly became lively. Many monks came here from the north to attend the once-in-a-decade Longmen Xingzi election meeting. There is only one destination in the sky, which is Wanlu Valley in Wanlu Mountain. Before Wanlu Mountain belonged to the friars of the human race, it was once the habitat of deer demons among the orcs. This valley is the core of Wanlu Mountain. Although it is a valley, it is also equivalent to a small plain with a radius of about 100 li. Among them, there was a young monk who was brave and indifferent. He walked alone in the sky with his sword. He was not fast or slow. He was carefree. He was in sharp contrast with other monks who were in a hurry. It was Tian who left Fengyun City more than a month ago to seek the land and practice in seclusion. In the Time and Space Tower, Tian uses the spirit material to refine pills day and night. Although he still hasn't broken through the middle stage of the Longmen realm, his cultivation has reached the peak of the middle stage of the Longmen realm. If he is given another month or half, he is likely to break through to the later stage of the Longmen realm. It's a pity that tomorrow is the day for the Dragon's Gate Saint's son to apply for the qualification test. He has no time to continue to practice. Although there is no real breakthrough in the realm of time itself, the velocity of time in the spacetime tower is 3 times slower than that of the outside world. More than 1 month is equivalent to 3 months inside. After this period of tempering, the mana of Yi Tianjing has been solidified to the extreme. Both the mana and combat effectiveness have been improved by more than 1 chip compared with a month ago. In this way, Yi Tian is more confident about Longmen Xingzi. Tomorrow is the day to apply for the test. There is plenty of time. Yi Tian is enjoying the scenery of the great wilderness and flying leisurely. Looking at those dodging lights, I had a wonderful feeling of impermanence in my heart. At a certain moment, he suddenly noticed it and flashed to the side. Within the scope of his mind, a group of monks were flying quickly from the north to his own direction. It turns out that groups of friars are not rare, but this group of friars is very different from other friars. Not only he, but also other friars stopped to wait and see. Soon, the friars were in sight. What attracts Yi Tian's attention most is not the number of monks, nor the realm of monks, but ostentation. Nearly 100 monks of Jindan realm are surrounded by a magic car pulled by 3 white tigers. There are more than 50 monks in the front and more than 50 monks in the back. The white tiger car is in the middle of the car. In addition to the monks of Jindan realm, there are more than a dozen monks of Yuanying realm, and even 2 monks of Huashan realm. The speed of the team is very fast, almost in the blink of an eye. It has been flying like lightning from not far away from Yi Tian. In this instant, Yi Tian has sensed that the 3 white tiger monsters are all 5-level monsters, which is equivalent to the realm of Yuan infant of the human friars. Although the car was covered by a special curtain, which could block the monk's spiritual exploration, he could also see the situation inside through the source eye. There are 2 people in the car, a male and a female. They are both very young. Man Xiu is well proportioned, beautiful and handsome, but he has a proud air between his eyebrows. He can also feel the evil emotion in his eyes. The nun looked like a rare beauty in the world in her 28 years. Her eyes were like autumn water and her eyebrows were like spring mountain. She was dressed in plain white neon clothes and her hair was twisted with a few wisps of drooping hair. She set off a beautiful melon seed face, and she couldn't say how soft she was. Both of them are in Longmen realm. The female is only in the early stage of Longmen realm, but the male has reached the peak of Longmen realm. He should be less than 30 years old. It's not common for him to reach this realm at such an age. That's the only son of Marquis Jing, and there is no limit to Wei. When Yi Tian was about to leave, he suddenly heard 2 flying monks talking quietly. One of them introduced him to the other. Oh, it turned out to be the son of Marquis Jingen. It suddenly occurred to Yi Tian that when he once rushed to Fengyun City with Jinji and Yuya, the 2 girls had introduced the so-called privileged class of Wanyu League to him. The supreme ruler is Yan Lai, the leader of Wanyu League. In addition, there are 4 kings, 8 marquis and 16 garrison envoys at the top of Wanyu League. The power of the 4 kings was next only to Yan Lai, the leader of the alliance, followed by the 8 marquis, and then the 16 garrison envoys. Even the last garrison envoys are powerful. More than 600 cities are under the control of 16 garrison envoys. Each garrison envoy controls 20 or 30 cities. Each of the 8 princes was in charge of 2 garrison envoys, and each prince was in charge of 2 princes. The city master is the bottom of the authority, but it is also the existence of many people. When Jinji and Yuya introduced them, they didn't go into too much detail, but they roughly mentioned Marquis Jingen, so Yi Tian had some impressions. There are still too many things that Wanyu Meng doesn't know. Yi Tian's short board is that he came to the great wilderness spiritual realm for a short time, and he was practicing most of the time, which is very bad for him. Just now, the 2 friars were flying all the way, talking about Wei Wuyan, the only son of Marquis Jingen. Yi Tian pretended to stop behind them and began to listen. One of the 2 friars was fat and the other was thin. They looked like they were only in their 30s. They were both cultivated in the golden elixir realm. It was the thin friar who introduced Wei Wuya just now. At this time, the fat friar heard the words and said with emotion, "Alas, they are all friars, and their fates are different." Wei Wuyan was born in the Lord's family. He was well-dressed and well-fed. He had all kinds of resources at his fingertips. He didn't need to perform tasks or do chores. It was as if all the good things in the great wilderness were waiting for him in line. This time, it is estimated that the number of places in which city has been occupied to participate in the election of Longmen Xingzi. According to my estimation, there must be 1 person in the 3 places. The thin friar said with a smile, "Brother Liao is right, but this is the way of the great wilderness spiritual realm. There can't be absolute fairness." Wei Kuai, the old man of the family, said that he worked hard and became a great monk in Yupu realm. It's unreasonable for his only son not to touch the light. After all, the Wei family also paid a lot. Brother Liao can also cultivate diligently. Even if he can't enjoy the treatment like Wei Wuyan, he can give some rich legacy to future generations. Haha, Brother Yan is joking. We are so busy with resources all day long, and we are also tired of various tasks. It's lucky that we won't fall in danger anymore. It's not easy to be a strong man like Huashan and Yu Pu Jing. The fat friar had no choice but to shake his head and smile bitterly. The thin friar heard the words and looked at the distant sky with a gloomy look. What the fat friar said is true. All achievements need to be based on the premise. The wish is always good, but the reality is often more cruel than the imagination. Especially the friars who have been promoted step by step from the bottom, like them. After that, they stopped talking and continued to fly forward. Yi Tian slowed down a little, and his heart was also a little turbulent. In his last life, he was rescued by Ning Yao when he crossed the square-inch spiritual realm. From then on, he fell in love with each other, and finally became the Emperor of Dan after receiving a lot of care from Ning Yao in the blessed land of Qingming. He imagined in his heart that if he didn't meet Ning Yao at that time, what would happen in the future? What didn't happen can't be assumed, but Yi Tian knows very well in his heart that even if his talent of Dan Dao is so powerful, he won't become a great friar in Yupu realm. Ning Yao, for your sake, I must become strong as soon as possible, find Sanqing Sancher Lotus, and revive your true body. Thinking about this, he urged the fierce sword at his feet to turn into a light escape and fly to Wanlu Valley quickly. At this time, Wanlu Valley was full of voices, and countless monks came from all over the country to watch the ceremony. There are also some monks who took part in the Dragon's Gate Saint Sun qualification test. Instead of enjoying the scenery everywhere, they are wandering outside a hall where the test registration office is located. Keep an eye on every monk who comes to sign up. These people will be their opponents. It is an eternal truth to know yourself and the enemy and win every battle. Although it's just a glance at each other, we can't say how familiar we are with each other. After all, more understanding is always beneficial and harmless. Master. As soon as Yi Tiangang appeared outside the hall where the registration office was located, Nieba squeezed over from the crowd and said loudly, "Well, here you are." Yi Tian nodded with a smile. From the surprise expression on Nieba's face, he didn't see the slightest affectation. He gradually recognized this disciple in his heart. "Well, I'm here. Shifu and Duan Daoyu are also here," Nieba said, pointing not far behind him. "Haha, Yi Daoyu, you are all right." The monk who came here was Duan Jingxiu. He clasped his fist and exchanged warm greetings. "Nice to meet you." Yi Tian also gave a gift and nodded. "Yi Daoyu, and we are here to cheer for you today." After Duan Jing's self-cultivation, there are 7 or 8 Jindan Jing monks who come to say hello to Yi Tian. "Thank you very much." Yi Tian saluted again. Although he didn't know the names of these friars, he had the impression that they were all present when they exchanged spoils in the meritorious hall of Castle Peak City. After a few simple greetings, Nieba pointed to the crowd in 2s and 3s in the distance. "Master, those are all those who signed up for the qualification test of Longmen Xingzi Jin election." Yi Tian looked at them, but he saw that they were all very young. They were really under 30 years old, and their cultivation was also very good. Some were in the middle stage of Longmen realm, and some in the later stage of Longmen realm, but they didn't see the peak of Longmen realm. Yi Tian doesn't think much of this. Those friars must have been practicing for a long time. Although they are 20 years old, their time of practicing is pitifully short. They have been practicing for less than 3 years since they were sophomores. Of course, this time includes the time added to yourself through the field in the Spacetime Tower. By the way, Master, just now a son of Marquis Jing'an came to sign up. Seeing Yi Tian's eyes back, Nieba said. "Do you mean that the son of Marquis Jing'an does not use the quota recommended by a certain city, but takes part in the qualification test to get the quota for the election?" Yi Tian Lang, detailed inquiry. Niebadeo, yes, a lot of people were talking about it just now. According to common sense, Marquis Jing'an has enough power to arrange a place for his son Wei Wuyan from any city. However, the fact is just the opposite. and the reason why he unexpectedly chose such a way is really intriguing. In fact, there is a certain truth in what we talked about just now. Wei Wuyan himself is the peak cultivation of longmen. He didn't use the quota recommended by each city because he is sure to win. Although there is nothing wrong with using the recommended quota, after all, the cultivation level and age do not violate the recommended conditions. However, if you kill him from the test and become more upright in reputation, no one will say that he will become the son of God by virtue of the shadow of the Marquis of Dingen. He will surpass other sons in reputation. In the future, it will be a smooth road, and maybe he will be ranked among the 4 kings and 8 marquis. When Yi Tian heard the speech, he also thought that Wei Wuyan was definitely not here to visit the mountains and rivers. If this term cannot become the son of God, he will be over his age in 10 years to the next term. Only in this way, their competitors have one more such existence. I am afraid there will be unexpected trouble. Yi Tian is not afraid to be inferior to him. He still has this confidence. It is obvious that Wei Wuyan is determined to win this time. If there is a deviation in the middle of the journey, the power of the Marquis of Dingen will definitely intervene. This is no doubt. In fact, what I face is not Wei Wuya, but Marquis Jingen and the forces behind him. Seeing Yi Tian's silence, Nieba approached Yi Tian and said in a low voice, "Master, some people have just talked about it. They say that Wei Wuyan has many experts around him. He is outstanding in Dan Dao, field array and strength, and he is quite proficient in 5 elements Taoism. At the age of 29, he has reached the peak of Longmen realm, and he has enemies in the same realm. Some people say that there are 4 items in the qualification test, namely, Dan Dao, 5 elements Taoism, strength combat and field array. If so, it is the test project set according to the field that Wei Wuyan is good at. In that case, they are really cruel. Dan Dao, 5 elements Taoist art, strength battle and field array?" Yi Tian's eyes flashed, and his lips flashed a meaningful smile. Is it really set according to the spiritual realm that Wei Wuyan is good at? How does it feel like it's made for you? Seeing Yi Tian's expression, Nieba obviously misunderstood his meaning and continued, "Master, don't believe it. Many things may not come from nowhere. Some rumors have been confirmed and become facts in the end. Therefore, this kind of behavior makes the disciples deeply repay the injustice of Master. Yes, we are in the same mood. We just hope that the rumors are not true. If the test is absolutely fair, we all believe that Yi Dao Yu will win." Duan Jingxiu also said with worry. Yi Tian said, "No matter, since it's a test, no matter what you test, it's just inferior to others. There's nothing to say. What we need to do now is not to complain pessimistically, nor to worry about gains and losses, but to go all out to meet tomorrow's test." "Well, I'm going in to sign up now." Voice down, Yi Tian is to the registration office where the hall. People did not wait too much. Yi Tian has come out of the hall. "Master, what's up?" Nieba went up and asked with concern. "Registration is complete. The test items will not be announced until tomorrow. I'll find a place to rest first. I'll see you tomorrow." Yi Tian nodded slightly, then drove away to the distance. Half an hour later, he had come to a small, inaccessible valley near the Orc area. After searching around, he used the technique of earth hiding to go deep underground. With his current understanding of the nature of the earth, he has not left any trace on the ground. After expanding the space with the big seal magic weapon, Yi Tian took out the spacetime tower. As soon as they entered, Xin Luoshin and Yi both opened their eyes from the cultivation. "What's the situation now?" Xin Luoshin asked softly. Yi Tian said, "I have already signed up. There is no problem. I came in to prepare for it. I won't stay long." Yi grasped Yi Tian's arm. "You must be the Dragon's Gate Saint's son. I'm tired of staying here. When you become the Saint's son, my sister Luoshin and I can go out openly. Don't worry. I'll make no mistake about what I promised you." Yi Tian has no choice but to smile. Before he practiced in the time and space tower, he has told her the whole story. And promised Yi to wait for him to become the Dragon's Gate Saint's son to have a good stroll in the great wilderness spirit realm. At that time, they just said it to calm their emotions. I didn't expect that this girl would never forget it. I'm waiting for your good news. Sun cunning a smile, the small hand is holding the fragrant cheek, the ground is staring at Leaf Day. Tian turns a blind eye and sits in the tower with his knees crossed. He takes out the ancient book that On Yuan Mountain gave him. There are various kinds of field array arrangements and solutions recorded here. Tian has generally understood them, and now what he needs to do is to study them thoroughly. No matter when the test project has this or not, it will benefit you after all. Take out the timer. After excitation, Tian entered the state of perception. Not long after the timer burst twice, Tian finally closed the last page of the ancient book and stood up. Every 12 hours, the timer goes off. Now 2 days have passed in the time tower. It's less than a day for the outside world, but now Tian has thoroughly studied the ancient books. In order to avoid missing the test, it doesn't matter if he doesn't go ahead of time. Well, I'm going out to test now. You can practice at ease. Tian Dynasty Qin Luoshan and Air waved away. Waiting for your good news. Qin Luoshan stands up and comes to tidy Tian's clothes. He says softly, "May the sun return soon." Son of Amatung, toward Leaf Day waved a hand. It's early in the morning. It was just a little light and dim, but for the friars, these were not problems at all. Most of the monks rest everywhere, and the magic weapons of the cave are everywhere around Wanlu Valley. Some monks who have no magic weapon in the cave are searching for suitable places to meditate with their knees crossed. Some people talk in groups. Tian didn't walk around, but looked for a big tree and closed his eyes between the branches of the crown. Before long, the sky was bright. Under the guidance of the deacon of Wanyu League, all the monks put away the magic weapon cave and made room in the valley. Friars from all over the world gathered one after another, waiting for the start of the qualification test. Only after passing the qualification test, we can confirm that we have the qualification to be elected in longmen together with the monks recommended by each city. So, this is the first step. There are also some monks who have been selected as Longmen's holy son in the Jin dynasty. They are going to take a look at the qualification test. About half an hour later, Wanlu Valley suddenly made a big drum music, and the Shenla was floating. Then a group of people came out of the main hall of the valley. The first two friars, a male and a female, were all well-dressed and distinguished. Both of them are middle-aged, but Yi Tianlu feels that they are both great monks in Yupu. The examiners are Jin Gan Marquis and Lanling Marquis. There is a whisper beside Yi Tian. Marquis Jingen? Yi Tian frowned and had a bad feeling in his heart. Marquis Jingen was one of the examiners. No wonder his son came to take the test instead of directly using the recommended quota. From this point of view, Marquis Jingen is a must. I just don't know how many qualifications can be given this time. If there is only one, there will be many twists and turns. You young talents of Wanyu League, the once-in-a-decade Xingzi election conference has begun. This time, Marquis Ben and Marquis Lanling jointly presided over the selection of Longmen Xingzi, striving to be fair, just and open. From many monks, they selected the monks with outstanding ability, strong strength and excellent qualifications to be eligible for the selection. I won't talk about anything else. It's up to Lanling Ho to announce the test rules. The dignified male monk, the Marquis of Jingen, was the first to speak. Next, the beautiful nun in a soft voice, the Marquis of Lanling said, "The Son of God needs to have comprehensive ability, not just the realm of cultivation." The rules of this qualification test have changed. Not only consider the age gap, but also test the comprehensive ability. A total of 1263 young talents participated in the test, and one of them was finally qualified for the election after layers of screening. The first test is speed, mana, and adaptability. 1,000 miles north from here, there is a reception station. All the monks who participate in the test need to go there, get back the keepsake issued there with the test card, and then return here. Remember, you can only fly in the air, but not in the sword. For the first test, take the top 50. And then the second test. Friars are allowed to interfere with each other during the round trip, but they cannot cause casualties, otherwise they will be disqualified. The following test card inspection, according to age, determined the starting position when the Marquis of Lanling finished speaking. A number of Yuan Yingjing monks set out and began to call names according to the list to check the test cards. Yi Tian was the first to be named. He was placed in the front position, because through the bone age test of all the monks participating in the qualification test, Yi Tian was the youngest. The minimum age of other monks participating in the test is also over 25 years old. The roll call will continue, in the order of age. More than 10 miles behind Yi Tian, and even tens of miles away, there were monks standing in succession. It's natural for young monks to fly a little less than other monks, but it seems fair. In fact, the journey of 2,000 li is nothing compared with the advantage of dozens of li. But such a station, some monks immediately cool heart. Because Yi Tian is young, but his realm has reached the middle stage of Longmen realm. More than 10 miles behind him, there are some elder monks who are only in the early stage of Longmen realm. Compared with the number of more than 1,200 monks participating in the test, the number of 50 candidates is too small. Many of them want to take advantage of their age. Unfortunately, the first monk is not only younger, but also more advanced. In fact, for some people, the number of 50 places has been reduced to 49. Because they have no confidence faster than Yi Tian. As a result, Yi Tian, who was at the front, attracted everyone's attention. All the monks participating in the test should pay attention. A deacon of the Golden Elixir realm is arranged to lead the way. Please follow the direction of the guide. Once you deviate from the direction, no matter how fast or slow you are, you can't record the test result if you can't get the keepsake. After arranging all the monks' positions, a deacon of Yuanyingjing sent out his voice from a distance. To make sure every friar who takes the test receives it. Then he said, along the way, there will be deacons to follow and supervise. Pay attention that no one can fly with the sword. After the salute, you can start flying. As she spoke, a beautiful-looking nun flew northward first. She was the leader of the Golden Elixir Peak. Yi Tian is quietly preparing. At a certain moment, a gun rings. Yi Tian turns into a light to chase the nun in front. Yi Tian's own magic power is extremely strong, and he is wearing boots, and his perception of wind attribute has reached the peak. The speed is far faster than that of ordinary monks in the Golden Elixir realm. Especially for the perception of wind attribute, Yukong flying with the help of wind, at the same time reducing the resistance of the wind, the body is floating, as if there is no weight, flying to the distance, soon catching up with the top female monk of Jindan realm. When the nun saw that Yi Tian was catching up with the friar at the top of the Golden Elixir realm, her eyes flashed and her speed improved in a flash. Just when she thought that Yi Tian would be left far away by herself, she looked back and found that Yi Tian was still closely behind her. This time, the nun was inexplicably shocked. Because she has played her fastest. How could this monk, who was only in the middle of Longmen realm, be so fast? It's just not going to happen. Why choose him as a guide? Because among the top monks in Jindan realm, she is also good at speed. Deacon Dao Yu, could you hurry up? After flying for a long distance, Yi Tian can't help but urge him to fly so fast. If you fly beyond the nun, what if you lose it? Can you be faster than you are now? Asked the nun in disbelief, in complete disorder. Isn't that normal? With a little effort, Yi Tian quickly passed the nun. However, his speed did not slow down, but continued to accelerate, and soon left the nun for more than 10 miles before he stopped waiting for her. At this time, the monks who took part in the test had become small black spots and were thrown far away. I'm sorry to affect the speed of Dao Yu's test. After the nun caught up with Yi Tian, she said modestly. It doesn't matter. The people behind can't catch up. What's the name of Dao Yu? Where's the surname? Yi Tian asked as he continued to fly in the sky. Xiao Yunqian, from Lingdu, works in Wanyu League. The nun glanced at the broken hair on her forehead and replied that this situation made her feel very strange, but she couldn't tell where it was. It's a nice name, and it's a good job. Does Xiao Daoyu have a couple? Yi Tian continues to ask. What do you mean? Xiao Yunqian looked the same and asked with a little blush. Yi Tian smiles and says, it doesn't mean anything else. If Xiao Daoyu has a Taoist partner, I can't chat with you like this, so as not to be misunderstood. Ha ha. Xiao Yunshan laughed. If so, you don't have to worry. I don't have a partner. By the way, your name is Yi Tian, right? How can your current cultivation speed be so fast? Yi Tian Dao, in fact, you can also be faster, but there is a lack of flying skills in the imperial air. Let me teach you, so that your speed can be increased by at least 50%. 50%? Is that true? Yi Daoyu Xiao Yunshan asked. Of course, it's not good for me to lie to you. Now, keep your chest up and your stomach in. I'll teach you how to fly faster. Yi Tian smiles and nods.